yarı final karşılaşmamız var. G2 Gambit'e karşı oynayacak. Under Tears Envy'ye karşı mücadele verecek günün ikinci serisinde. Gerçekten buraya kadar muazzam bir turnuva süreci yaşandı. Sürpriz sonuçlar var. Biraz onlardan bahsedeceğiz. Geçtiğimiz günleri konuşacağız. Dün 4 tane çeyrek final karşılaşması oynanmıştı. Ve bugün 4 tane yarı finalistimiz sahnede yer alacaklar. Finalde kimler olacak? Bugün bunu belirleyeceğiz ve yarın 5 harita üzerinden oynanacak final yine bu ekranlarda olacak. Yanımda Hetse ve Noel'deyi. Her zaman olduğu gibi arkadaşlar hoş geldiniz.
Hoş bulduk. Sen de hoş geldin.
Teşekkür ediyorum. Bugün keyifli bir gün olmasını diliyorum. Maalesef herhangi bir temsilcimiz yok. Sinet burada yok. SMB geçtiğimiz gün elendi. Ve bizim adımıza birazcık daha Valorant heyecanına odaklandığımız bir gün. Milli mücadele, milli mesele yok bugün burada. Tabii ki Gambit G2 karşılaşmasıyla başlayalım. Gambit adına bence daha rahat geçmesini beklediğim bir mücadele. Kesinlikle onların kağıt üstünde favori olduğunu düşünüyorum. Ama G2'nun da bir gözdağı vermesi söz konusuydu. Özellikle Sentinel'i mağlup ederek. Ardından görece daha kolay bir chart kura çekmişlerdi Kuru'yu yakalayarak. Kuru maçında bazı anlarda zorlandılar ama yine 2-0 geçmeyi bildiler.
Evet.
Beklenildiği üzere onlar kazandı. Yükselişe geçen oyuncuları var.
Kelox harbiden turnuvada çok ayrı bir noktaya evrildi, onu söylemek lazım. Tek başına hamle yapan, tek başına bir şeyler kovalayan bir oyuncudan takım oyuncusuna evrilmeye başladı. Oynadığı ajanlar değişti, oynadığı rol biraz değişmeye başladı. Yer yer yine Jet'le görüyoruz ama Jet oynarken bile Kelox'un biraz daha istikrarlı olmaya başladığını görebiliyoruz. Biraz daha takım arkadaşlarıyla birlikte oynamaya başladığını görüyoruz. Diğer taraftan Mixwell turnuva boyunca işte ilk grup aşamasında 5 farklı ajan oynamıştı. Bu da onun için hem zor hem de aslında ne kadar takım için farklı rolde bir oyuncu olduğunu gösteriyor. Her haritada farklı bir şeye yönlendiriyorlar Mixwell'i. Yer yer verim alıyorlar, yer yer alamıyorlar. Bazı ajanlarda iyi gözükürken bazılarında zayıf gözükebiliyor ama takımı için bir şekilde fedakarlık yapıyor. Ama G2 tarafında benim bir tane sıkıntım var. Avova en istikrarlı oyuncusuydu bence ama bu turnuva özelinde istikrar konusunda yer yer problemler yaşıyor Avova'da.
Evet, Avova gerçekten bazı performanslarıyla rol oyuncusu olarak mest ediyor ve dünyanın en özel rol oyuncularından bir tanesi olduğunu bence buradaki bazı performanslarıyla gösterdi. G2'nun bazı maçlarda ayakta kalmasını sağladı. Ve tabii Avova'nın bugün ayakta kalması çok önemli. Çünkü rol oyuncusu denildiğinde açıkçası ilk akla gelen takım benim için Gambit, Chronicle, Shadows ve Nets. Bu üçüne şu anda kafa tutacak çok fazla rol oyuncusu grubu bir takım içerisinde yok bence. İşte 100 Thieves'in çok özel bir takım olduğunu bu noktada söyleyebiliriz ama özellikle G2'nun bu konuda sıkıntı çekebileceğini düşünüyor musun?
İhtimal dahilinde tabii. Hala sonuçta en kolay gruptan geldiler. Sentinels sonuçta o gruptan ikinci, yani en kolay grup demeyelim tabii ki, o doğru bir ifade değil aslında. Sentinels var sonuçta grupta. 3 takım gruptan geldi G2 tarafı. Ve Sentinels'ı yenmeyi başarsalar ve bayağı işte bir maçta kazanıp bir maçta çok yakın geçen bir seri olsa da şunu da unutmamak lazım ki aynı Sentinels'ın gidip Envy'ye kaybettiğini gördük ondan sonrasında. O yüzden Sentinels'ın tam seviyesine veya işte G2'nun gerçekten tam olarak test edilmediğine dair belli başlı şüphelerimiz var. Açıkçası benim var en azından. Ve karşısındaki Gambit tarafıysa onlar da dağınık gözüktüler aslında. Fakat işler ciddileştiğinde onların performansına ciddi bir artış söz konusu oldu bence ve çözüm üretme noktasında ve anti strateji üretme konusunda bence kalan takımlar içerisinde belki de bir numara olacak. Bir numara olmasını beklediğim takım Gambit en azından. O yüzden ben bir şekilde G2'nun yaptıklarına çözüm üretebileceğini düşünüyorum. Bir de yani G2'nun iyi oynadığı haritalar belli. Orada yaptıkları belli. Çok ekstra bence şaşırtan bir durum söz konusu değil. Sadece bazı noktalarda Gambit'in firepower anlamında diyeyim, rakipleriyle boy ölçüşemediği, işte işin içine Shadows'un falan giremediği haritalar oldu çünkü. Evet. Firepower anlamında boy ölçüşemediği dakikalar söz konusu oluyor. Öyle bir durumda Kelox ve ya öyle haritalar yaşanırsa Nuki ve Kelox'un işin içine ya çok erken bir şekilde o ritmi yakalayıp rüzgarı arkasına aldığı senaryolarda tabii başka bir şey konuşuyor olabiliriz. Çünkü headshotlar rakipten geldiğinde önce stratejilerinizin çoğu zaman pek bir önemi kalmayabiliyor.
Yani, olabiliyor. Gambit tarafında benim bir soru işaretim şu. G2 karşısında bu problemi çok yaşayacaklarını düşünmüyorum ama Gambit genel olarak yavaş oynayan, çok yavaş oynayan ve yavaş oyuna adapte olan, yavaş oyunu oynamayı seven bir takım. O yüzden işte 100 Thieves karşısında yer yer problemler yaşadığını, hızlı oyun karşısında problemler yaşadığını gördük. Yine buraya gelirken de aslında kendilerini de çok sıkıştırdıklarını gördük. Son 30 saniye, son 20 saniye bir yerlere koşmaya çalışan Gambit özellikle saldırı kısmında ciddi problemler yaşıyordu. G2 karşısında bu problemleri yaşamayacaktır. G2 da çünkü benzer bir oyun tarzına aynı bölgeden geldiği için sahip ve G2'nun oyun tarzını da iyi biliyorlar. Fakat olası buradaki galibiyet sonrasında ben Gambit'in finalde herhangi bir rakibe karşı fark etmez kim gelirse gelsin problem yaşamasının yüksek olasılık olduğunu düşünüyorum. Çünkü kendilerini çok sıkıştırıyorlar. Kendi ayaklarına sıkıyorlar aslında bir noktada.
Bence birazcık split haritasıyla da alakalıydı. Onu da unutmamak lazım. Yani tabii güncel olarak aklımızda olduğu için birazcık bence kafa karıştırıyor olma ihtimali var. Split haritasında zaten şu ana kadar bu turnuvada galibiyeti yok. Gambit'in oynadığı 2 split'i de kaybetti. Halbuki EMEA playoff'larında bizi yenmişlerdi. Finalde orada. Ve işte Split'te işte 2'de 0 ama diğer haritalarda çok daha akıcı bir oyun oynadıklarını söylemek lazım. Biraz Icebox onların ikinci evleri gibiydi aslında son dönemde. Orada da 4 maçın 3'ünü kazanmalarına rağmen belli başlı problemler, senin söylediğin problemlere yakın şeyler yaşandı ama onun haricinde ya bence o kadar hücumları sıkışmıyor. Çünkü her zaman rakibin nerede olacağına dair oyun içerisinde bir fikir sahibi olup yani sayı avantajı yakalayabiliyorlar. Özellikle Nets'in geçen son oynanan seride yaptıklarını gördük zaten yani.
Yaratık.
Yani,
Gerçek anlamda yaratık ya.
Bir de şöyle bir durum var. Gambit'te biliyorsun o rol oyunculardan ve firepower'lardan sık sık bahsediliyor ama turnuva genelinde bu 3 oyuncunun birden yani aynı anda iyi oynadıkları karşılaşma sayısı çok az.
Evet.
Ya bazen Difo çok ön plana çıkabiliyor. Bu bir ekstra. Ya Difo'nun Gambit adına varlığı çok önemli. Ya bazen maçlarda kaybolabilen bir jet.
Evet.
Özellikle online'da bu çok oluyordu. Offline'a gelindiğinde Difo bambaşka bir karakterle sanki oyuna başladı.
Ama oyunu alıp götürmüyor yine de. Onu da unutmamak lazım.
Götürmüyor. Kesinlikle öyle. Daha fazlasını yapmasına çok öyle gerek yok. Hani bir tane Sinet performansı Difo'dan gelmeli mi Gambit için? Hayır, bu şart değil. Çünkü diğer oyuncular da çok kaliteli. Ama şu olmuyordu. Yani dostlar Nets'in bir arada iyi oynadıkları karşılaşma, özellikle bu iki oyuncu bence Gambit'in gözdesi.
Evet.
Bir arada iyi oynadıkları karşılaşma sayısı çok fazla olmadı. Harita söylüyor.
Özellikle dost tarafında çok problem yaşıyorlar bu turnuvada. Yani Nets bir şekilde ayakta kalıyor. Çok az karşılaşmada Nets'in oyundan koptuğunu gördük.
3 arada 35 vurdu sadece Shadows bence turnuvadaki en keskin eğimlerden bir tanesi.
Evet,
ya buraya gelirken EMEA playoff'larında, EMEA finallerinde neler yaptı
Bind'da bir tane ace var. Valorant tarihine geçen bir ace var.
Şimdi bu adamın burada çıkıp Reyna oynayıp 7-8 vurması hiç bekleyeceğiniz bir durum değil ve oynadığı ajan da ona, o Reyna'dan bahsediyorum, yatkın değil. Skor bulmayı, skor kovalamayı seven bir ajandan bahsediyoruz.
Redguard'dan da bahsedebiliriz biraz. Redguard da çünkü hani EMEA tarafında biliyorsun herkesi çok şaşırtmıştı bireysel performansıyla. Burada da yer yer iyi oyunları var ama bazen maça ilk 8 round kill alamadan girdiğini, ya ilk roundlarda çok fazla katkı veremediğini hatırlıyorum. Yine Redguard'ın performansı da aslında Gambit'i EMEA'da iyi gösteren unsurlardan bir tanesiydi. O da o kadar iyi değil şu an.
Bence yani belli bir çıtayı aşmasını sağlayan şey Redguard, açık konuşmak gerekirse. Çünkü hemen hemen herkesin, yani Shadows'u evet biraz istikrarından bahsettik Shadows'un ama ne olursa olsun Redguard'ın ekstrayı çıkardığı senaryolarda, ekstra bir performans oynadığı haritalarda oyunu başka bir noktaya gidiyor bence Gambit'in. Yani işte Nets'e veya Shadows'a yakın bir skor katkısı verdiği her senaryoda belki de dünyanın en tehlikeli takımına dönüşüyor. Ama işte o skor katkısını veremedi. Bu arada bir IGL olarak oyuna etkisi çok bariz okunan bir oyuncu bence ve Gambit zaten hem round ortası kararlarıyla hem hazırlık noktasında, rakibi hazırlık noktasında bence turnuvadaki en net takımlardan bir tanesi. Fakat işte ne olursa olsun firepower anlamında Redguard'ın varlığı, işin içerisine dahil olabilmesi onları bir zirve takım yapıyor. O yüzden bu seride ve potansiyel bir finalde onun skor katkısı verebiliyor olması başka bir şey izlememize yol açar.
Tabii ki. Ve tabii hani Gambit'in aşağı yukarı nasıl bir takım olduğunu biliyoruz. EMEA'da da Gambit'i sıklıkla gözlemledik. Onlar da buraya istedikleri tam performansla gelmediler. Crazy Raccoon'a karşı 2 tane seri oynadılar. Bir tanesinde sadece 2 round verdiler. 13-1 geçtiler. Bir tanesinde bakıyoruz. Neredeyse maçı kaybedecekleri anlar.
Uzatmaya gitti
yani,
bir tanesi, hatırlatalım.
Maçı kaybedecekleri anlar yaşadılar. Bu da mesela Gambit adına çok ilginç. Yani Gambit'in şu anki durumunu zaten bu karşılaşmalar bence çok net bir şekilde özetliyor. Ama iş istikrara geldiğinde zaten şu anda turnuvada şöyle istikrarlı oynayan, böyle istikrarlı oynuyor dediğimiz herhangi bir takım yok.
Bu turnuvanın Sentinels'ı yok. İzlanda'daki Sentinels'ı. Onu unutmak lazım.
Yok ama 100 Thieves o Sentinel olabilir mi?
yakını.
Biraz ona bakacağız. Fakat 100 Thieves'te de şöyle bir durum var. Yani 100 Thieves burada olmayabilirdi.
Aynen öyle.
Nasıl ama
2 tane maç.
ya 2 maçta 100 Thieves Bir tanesinde 11-3'ten seride 1-0 geriler. Aynı zamanda karşılaşmada ikinci haritada 11-3 gerideyken comeback atıyor. Bir diğerinde ise geçtiğimiz gün zaten 12-7'den dönüyorlar ve 12-7'ye kadar geldiğinde işler 100 iyi gözükmüyordu.
Evet.
Maçın sonlarını iyi oynayan bir takım. Yani gerçekten o offline tecrübesi.
Tecrübe
Offline
yani.
tecrübesini zaten hani
Bir de
sürekli söylüyoruz.
rakibin aklına giriyorlar.
Evet ve işte tecrübe, al sana
Evet.
tecrübe. Yani o tecrübeyi masaya vuruyorlar. Onda hiçbir sıkıntı yok.
Evet.
Ama işte takımların da bunu birazcık daha bilmesi gerekiyor. Hazırlıklı olması gerekiyor. Gambit bir kere o hatayı yaptı mesela. Finalde karşılaşırlarsa aynı hatayı Gambit yapar mı? O bir soru işareti
Bence
artık.
ben onu o gün de söylemiştim. Gambit o gün o seriyi kaybetmesine rağmen daha iyi oynayan taraftı.
Evet.
Evet.
Ve aynı hataları yani çünkü çok izlediklerinde ya bunları nasıl yaptık diyecekleri şeyler yaptı Gambit. Ve Gambit'in ne kadar aslında keskin ve hatayı minimal düzeyde tutan bir takım olduğunu biliyoruz. Onların oyunları hakikaten çok az hata vaat eden oyunlar. Fakat Nets'ten mesela o karşılaşmada inanılmaz karakter dışı hatalar görmüştük. Belki de takımın en iyi oyuncusu, hatta belki de pozisyonunda dünyanın en iyi oyuncusu olduğunu konuşabileceğimiz bir oyuncu.
Bence öyle mesela.
Yani ben muhtemelen benim de fikrim. Yani tartışırız ama yani en iyi olmasa
Ya
bile en
kimsenin
iyi
buna
üçten
çok
bir tanesi.
öyle itiraz edeceği
Aynen
bir
öyle.
durumda yok ortada.
Yani.
Çünkü saydığın zaman akla gelen var mı başka? Nets pozisyonunda daha iyidir diyebileceğim
Daha iyi
birisi şu an.
sentinel
turnuvada.
sayamıyorum ben.
Benim de aklıma gelmiyor yani.
Gelmiyor.
Yok çünkü.
Power'a var.
Power'a da bu arada iş mükemmel oynuyor gerçekten
Evet.
ama burada değil. Ama Power'ın olayı
Evet.
biraz Nets'ten farklı.
Evet,
Tabii,
evet.
İçin
Yani-
şakası o zaten. Yani Nets o pozisyonda onun yapabildiklerini dünyada başka yapabilen bir oyuncu yok.
Bir de Nets'in Power'dan farkı Power'a
Aleykümselam Refik, hoş geldin.
Power'ın görevi de farklı biraz.
Ve
Tabii.
Nets hem hücumda hem de savunmada daha farklı meziyetleri olan bir oyuncu.
Evet.
Bunu da söyleyelim. Çok farklı bir ekstrası var. Paro'nun da farklı bir ekstrası olduğunu zaten turnuvalarda
gel abi adam.
sürekli görüyoruz.
Daha ne olsun?
Ama karşı karşıya getirildiğinde Sentinel performansı tabii ki Nets'in bütün dünyanın gözü önünde
Evet.
şu anda. Hepimiz bunun farkındayız. Biraz şu da var ki yani dün Tenz mesela 0'a 8 başladı bir haritaya.
Evet.
Valorant'ta şuna alışık olmak lazım. Oyuncular süperstar olabilir ama oyuncuların inişi çıkışı burada ajanlar olduğu için oyunlar şu anda hiç stabil değil. Başından beri First Strike zamanından beri dünyanın en iyi takım olarak adledilen Sentinels'i bir kenara bırakıyorum. Onun dışında bütün takımlar çok saçma, absürt, sürpriz sonuçlara açıkçası
Açık bir
müsaade...
Yok, başlamadı daha, birazdan
buna engel
başlayacak.
olamadılar.
Oyun açık.
Oyun da açık. Bu yüzden hani şu çok şaşırtmasın. İşte bir maç 0'la başladı. 8 round vuramadı Tens. Olabiliyor bunlar. Sinet SMB'ye karşı Ascent'te o bildiğimiz Sinet miydi? Değildi. Sonraki Ascent serisi bambaşka geçti. Belki de daha iyi bir takıma karşı. 100 Thieves'e karşı. Bunlar da olabiliyor. Ve tabii ki bugünün bir diğer serisinden bahsedeceğim ama biraz da GTO parantez açmak istiyorum. Çünkü orada Kellogg's'tan bahsettik, Avova'dan bahsettik. O tarafta Coldamenta mesela son seride iyi oynadı. Onlar
Evet.
için de...
Bence bu arada bayağı iyi bir turnuva geçiyor
Evet.
Coldamenta.
Ya onlar için de şey gibiydi hani Ascend'in bonk oldu. G2'da sanki Coldamenta gibiydi. Coldamenta o çıtayı biraz yukarıya çıkardı en azından. Bir de Nuki gerçeği var.
Niki.
Yani Nuki gerçeği var. Hiç konuşmadık Nuki'yi mesela şu ana kadar. Kellogg's evet çok iyi oynadı da Nuki'nin performansı burada olmasa Kellogg's'un performansı yeterli olmazdı
Ya
G2 için.
birkaç harita dışında Niki hakikaten kusursuza yakın oynuyor şu ana kadar turnuvayı. İşte Icebox'ta değişik bir race tercihi var, bahsediyoruz. İnanılmaz iyi işletiyor.
Valla
Genel olarak zaten
G2
onu
olabilir
artık
ya.
şey olarak kullanmaya başladılar. İkinci düelist olarak kullanmaya başladılar. Yer yer bu ikinci düelistten vazgeçiyorlardı Niki özelinde ama ikinci düelist olarak kullanmak, hatta yeri geldiğinde tek düelist olarak kullanmak Niki'yi çok daha mantıklı hale geldi G2 adına. G2'nun da tabii turnuva ilerledikçe o gelişimini, o iyileşmesini, o evrimini görmeye başladık. İşte bu pozisyonlar daha net belli olmaya başladı.
Yalnız
Oyun tarzı
Icenet
oyuncuların daha çok
bir
değişmeye
de
başladı.
yani
planı
Sinet'le
olmaya başladı.
Tenz'in
Ve
takımları
yok,
elenmeseydi
eksik
güzel
yani.
VS'ler olurdu
Yani
da ama dün Tenz çok kötüydü.
Biliyoruz ama sonuçta MA playoff'larında Vodafone Giants'a karşı ekstra bir ajan
Alır.
değişikliği o kadar şaşırtmaz. Sonuçta karşılarında Vodafone Giants var. Hani orada birazcık daha göze alınabilecek bir şeydi ama bu turnuvada çıkartıp mesela çok önemli bir noktada Mixwell'e Raze oynattılar Split'te.
Evet.
Yani bu çok
Bu arada-
nasıl dün Sentinels tarafında böyle bir deneme tutmadı
Bu
mesela.
arada bu takımların hepsi split'e gelince işler şöyle bir karman çorman hani komplu değişiklikler
Abi
yaptılar.
çünkü şey oluyor böyle. Ya abi bunu oynayamıyoruz. Bu haritayı beceremiyoruz. Bari şu kompu deneyelim, belki bu kompla oynayabiliriz. Çünkü hakikaten çok zor split oynaması. Çok zor bir harita.
Ya
Bence
şöyle,
en zor olan harita.
Split'te oynaması şöyle zor. Şimdi Bind'de kompu rahat değiştiriyorsun. Haven'da kompu rahat değiştiriyorsun ama Split'te kompu o kadar rahat değiştiremiyorsun.
Evet, bazı şeyleri biraz mecbursun gibi.
Yani Split'te işte çoğu takım bir ara biliyorsun jet oynamıyordu.
Evet.
Sonradan yavaş yavaş anladılar ki yani tamam jet oynamıyoruz ama yani adam jet oynayınca rahat. Adamın
Aynen
elinden
öyle.
bunu alıyorsun, sonrasında bu adamın performansı yerle bir oluyor. Ama bir yandan bakıyorsun işte Jet'in takıma verdiği katkı biraz Raze'in gerisinde olabiliyor. Çünkü çok dar bir haritada Raze'i kullanmak istiyorsun. Tenz'i mesela dün kullanmak istediler. İşte çok dar bir harita ama ya Sinatra'nın zamanında Sentinels'te bir Raze performansı
Evet.
vardı. Split'te biraz herhalde ona dönmek istediler ama o Sinatra'nın Raze'iydi. Tenz'in Raze'ini hiçbir zaman böyle izlemedik
Ya
biz.
bir de Tenz ya
Olmadı.
oynadığı ajanlara bakıyoruz şimdi Tenz'in. Yeri gelince Rain oynuyor, yeri gelince işte Jet'e dönüyor. Bu iki ajanın da ortak özelliği biraz daha aim odaklı olmaları.
Hı hı.
Yetenekten ziyade. Yani diğer işte Raze'i oynaması falan çok daha zor ve çok daha yetenek kullanımının iyi olmasını gerektiren
Aleykümselam, hoş
ajanlar.
geldin Kurt.
O yüzden Tenz'in oyun tarzına pek bence uymuyor ve Tenz'in iyi yapabildiği şeyi de
Ben
kısıtlıyorsunuz.
şuna bu arada çok karşı değilim yani. Tenz Raze oynayabilir.
Oynayabilir.
Tenz çünkü
İyi
Raze'i de
sağ ol
oynar
kardeşim
yani.
benim.
Oynar
Hakkını-
tabii.
Ama
Beğeni at
zamana
çıkabilirsin,
ihtiyacı var.
Ama
teşekkürler.
birden hani bir günde yani dünyanın
bu
değişmesini
arada-
beklemek gibi bir şey.
Evet.
İşte
İyi
bir
ben.
günde değil,
Grafik.
mutlaka çalışmışlardır ama
Tenz
bu
dediğin
riski
gibi
almanıza
yayınlarda
değecek.
falan çok
Bir takım şeyler
felaket ama
hazırladıkları %100
dün
yani.
mesela
Bilmiyorum. Bunun bir
0.8'di,
sonuçta
0.9 da olabilir.
Envy Split'ini biliyorlardı onlar. Daha önce de oynadılar.
Hadi ne yapacaksın, hoş
Bölgelerinde de
geldin.
gördüler. Bir karşı strateji olarak bunu değerlendirdiler. Fakat tutmadı. Ya bir zar atıldı.
Ya-
O kumarı oynar mısınız? Bunu tartışmak lazım.
Turnuvayı
da-
takip
yani
ediyoruz,
Split'te
turnuvayı
zaten
yorumluyoruz.
Split'te
Şöyle bir
oynuyorsun.
like'larınızı atın
F2'ye
efendim.
yenilmişsin. Ondan önce G2'ye yenilmişsin Split'te. Onun dışında Split'i sen seçiyorsun. Ve sen Sentinel'sin. Dünyanın en iyi takım olarak buraya geliyorsun. Split'te kendilerinin kötü oynadığını bilerek yani normal oyunumuzu Split'te oynarsak Envy'yi yenemeyiz kafasıyla ajan değiştirmek zorunda kalıyorsun. Ya Sentinels'in düştüğü durum komik aslında. Ya çünkü arada 2 gömlek fark yok Envy ile Sentinels arasında. Sentinels'in daha iyi olması
Hı hı.
lazım. Biraz psikolojik bu. Yani o da kötü bir şey. Yani normal oyunumu oynarsam Envy'ye karşı kaybederim. O yüzden bir şeyleri değiştirmem gerekiyor mentalitesiyle ajan değiştirmek zorunda kalıyorsun. O başka bir şeydi. Envy karşılaşmasına da yavaş yavaş geçelim isterseniz. 100 Thieves evet topluyor, ucundan dönüyor. Bir şekilde o uçurumun eşiğinde hayatta kalmayı başarıyorlar ama Envy de açıkçası cezalandırabilecek yeteneklere sahip. Yay çok güzel, çok iyi bir jet. Onun dışında Crashies'in Sova ile dün inanılmaz performansları
Bu
var
arada
geçtiğimiz gün.
turnuvadaki en iyi oyuncusu Crashies. Yay
Evet.
değil.
Evet. Ya Crashies
Muazzam bir turnuva oynuyor.
gerçekten harika oynuyor ve bunun yanı sıra Victor yine eski nick'iyle Foot geçtiğimiz gün harika bir seri geçirdi. Bu tarz Marv'ın da mükemmel. Marv şöyle yani emniyet sibobu gibi Marv. Çok vurmuyor
Çok kritik roundlar
ama
aldı ama.
kritik roundlarda Marv'ın en azından 2 tane kritik roundu oluyor.
Evet evet.
Ya bu mesela çok
Avova
özel
gibi
bir
birazcık daha o da.
performans.
Heh.
Kesinlikle. Avova birazcık daha hani takımının
Turnuvadan da gelen
gereğini
olursa
daha
eğer
fazla hani,
turnuvayı
pozisyona
1000 kişi ya,
girebiliyor.
çok değil
Marv'ın
bak.
da böyle şeyleri var
1000
ama
kişi
özellikle işte Victor
sadece
Yeo
5
olduğu zaman
dakika
Marv'dan
izlese
bir
bizim
kilometre
hedef tamam.
ama Marv'da da
Biner kişi. Çok
FNS
mu ya?
bazen
1000
şaşırtıyor.
kişi gelecek
Yani iyi
abi. 5 dakika
performansları
burada
var,
yayın
iyi
izleyecek. Ondan sonra
performansları.
mükemmel.
Thieve's'e karşı
Hedeflerimizi
ben biraz
aşmış
geride
oluruz.
görüyorum. Psikolojik olarak geride görüyorum. Ve seriyi biraz hani 100 Thieves
Ama var ya maç
favori
bir
olarak
başlasın
görüyorum
diye.
ama şöyle değil. Hani %70 100 Thieves değil. %55 100 Thieves'im. Çünkü Envy gerçekten iyi oynuyor.
Ya ben de burada sana katılacağım. Ben de
Hı hı.
çok yakın bir seriyi geçeceğini düşünüyorum açıkçası ki bu iki takım en son karşılaştığında 3-2 bitti serileri.
Evet.
Onu da söylemek lazım. Yine benzer bir senaryo olacaktır çünkü NA takımlarının, Kuzey Amerika takımlarının birbirine karşı oynadığında oyun tarzlarının artık plandan çok eğime döndüğünü görüyoruz. Burada da çok ciddi eğim farkları yok takımlar arasında. Hızlı oyun, sürekli bir kaos, sürekli bir çatışma. Böyle geçiyor bu iki takım arasında, bu NA takımları arasında. Plandan biraz kopabiliyorlar. Sentinels da dün benzerini gösterdi mesela. Bugün de benzerini göreceğiz bence bu karşılaşmada. İş eğime gelince de çok büyük farklar yok bence. Yani evet Asuna
Yok.
çok değerliyim ama karşısına Ye'yi koyabiliyorsun. Yine yer yer clutch'larda Hiko böyle eğiminden ziyade bilgisiyle öne çıkabiliyor. Eğimi de yeterli seviyede. Ya bu tarz durumlarda İÇİN yine çok değerli bir eğim. O tarafta 100
İyi
Thieves
bu arada
tarafında.
100 Thieves'i toplayan oyuncu.
Çok bence şu an
Yani-
bir numarası olabilir Yasuna ile birlikte.
Yani bu kadroda İİT'in olmasa bu kadro açıkçası grup aşamasından çıkamayabilirdi belki.
Yani birazcık takımın çok Asuna'ya bağımlı olmasının önüne geçen isim İÇİN kesinlikle. Çünkü hem yetenek kullanımı anlamında hem de birazcık daha o özellikle Sky'ı biraz daha duelist, biraz belki Muj örneğini
Evet.
verebiliriz. Benzer bir stil olarak. Tabii operatör kullanmıyor tabii ki İÇİN o tarafta ama hem kendisine hem takım arkadaşlarına pozisyon yaratma anlamında oldukça
Orada
değerli bir
operatör
parça.
kullanmaya çalışan bir oyuncu var
Ya,
ikinci. O
evet.
yüzden kullanmıyor olabilir.
Ya tabii ki öyle ama İÇİN'in hakikaten firepower anlamında hemen Asuna'nın yanına çok ciddi bir
Ben
katkı
koyarım.
verdiğini söylemek lazım 100 Thieves'e. O dediğim gibi o olmasa, İÇİN olmasa birazcık daha tıkanan, yani Dicey ile beraber mesela birazcık daha tıkanabilen bir takımda 100 Thieves. Dicey'nin yerine hem İÇİN'i koydular hem farklı bir ajan, çok önemli bir ajanı ekleyebildiler kendi portföylerine. Hem de o aim gücünü, o atış gücünü, vuruş gücünü artırmış oldu.
Ya bu turnuva offline değil online olsaydı 100 Thieves muhtemelen gruplardan çıkardı da işte çeyrek finalde elenirdi bence Ascend'e karşı. Çünkü 12-7'den orada geri dönmek çok kolay olmazdı. Ascent haritasında çok biliyorsun.
Bir
hani,
mental savaş orası zaten.
kötü kaybettiler bence Ascent haritasında. Kötü gözüktüler çünkü. Ve yani performans altı oyuncular var. Bölüm bölüm.
Bir numara.
Ama stil öyle bir oyuncu ki stil. Yani bir oyuncu bu kadar kötü gözüküyorken bu kadar iyi roundlar geçirebilince şaşırıyor insan
Breeze'de
bazen.
19 vurdu.
Adamsın Refik.
Üstüne
Adam.
En önemli katkı belki de yani X faktörü oldu yani karşılaşmanın ve haritanın belki de son
Yani
haritanın.
çok kötü bu performans açıkçası. Yani bir yerde mesela Nets'i konuşuyoruz ya. Yani Nets'le Steel Sentinel'i arasında dağlar var.
Evet.
Şu anda oynanan Sentinel'ler arasında. Steel gerçekten çok iyi bir iş
Ama
çıkardı.
yine nereye dönüyor bu olay? Tecrübeye dönüyor. Yine tecrübeye dönüyor. Yani çok tecrübeli. Her ne kadar da diğer takım arkadaşları kadar olmasa da çok tecrübeli bir isimden bahsediyoruz ve yani tek tecrübesiz isimleri burada. Asuna diyebiliriz. Asuna'yı da bu kadar tecrübeli oyuncunun arasına koyunca o da yani rahatlıyor. İster istemez insan yanında Hiko olunca, Nitro
Ama
olunca rahatlar
yani
abi.
bu takım bazen Asuna'yı unutuyor bence.
Asuna da kendini unutturuyor.
Biraz onun da etkisi olabilir. Tabii burada oyun içerisinde ne kadar sesinin çıktığı birazcık sorgulanabilir. Çünkü hakikaten yani 4 tane çok tecrübeli, LAN tecrübesi olan büyük kariyerden
Tam
bahsediyoruz.
7'de başlayacak büyük
O
ihtimalle.
anlamda Asuna'nın mesela dünkü Ascent performansı hakikaten tamamen yoktu
Ben
haritada.
konuşmasam bile
8
siz
vurdu. Yani
burada
8
durun.
vurdu
Refik
ve
sen işin
Asuna
varsa
net
bir
bir
de yan
şekilde bu
sekmeleri
takımın
açık
en önemli
kalsın.
hücum gücü yani. Veya işte hücum gücü dediğim aim gücü. O noktada bu kadar İşler birazcık kötü gittiği zaman belki de seslerin artışı, herkesin daha fazla konuşuyor olması biraz Asuna'nın da oyun içerisinde kaybolabilme ihtimalini doğuruyor olabilir. Belki ya onu hatırlaması lazım işler kötü gittiğinde 100 Thieves'in. Yoksa sıkıntı çekilebiliyor
Yani
Asuna işin içine dahil olamadığı
Asuna
zaman.
açıkçası ne Sinet performansı ortaya koyuyor ne Tens performansı ortaya koyuyor. Hatta Kellogg's performansına da yaklaşamıyor şu ana kadar. Asuna'dan beklediğimiz Asuna deyince şimdi bu mekanik eğimin çıkıp normal standart bir maçta rahatlıkla 20-25 bırakmasını bekliyoruz ama 20-25 bırakırken Asuna öyle çok rahat gözükmüyor. Ve
Eğer
şu ana
maç
kadar işte
sonuna
çok önemli
kadar
2-3 tane seri oynadılar.
500 kişi izlerse
Turnuvada
minimum
Asuna, evet, frag katkısından
maç
her türlü
sonundaki
geliyor Asuna. Ama
şeyde
frag katkısı
1250
düşük yani,
VP
Superstar
çekilişi bile yapabilirim.
performansıyla
G2
gelmiyor.
maçı bir,
Standart bir
daha
oyuncu
sonraki
gibi.
Sabit
G2
20'yi
Gambit maçı, daha sonraki
alabileceğinizi
işte
düşünüyorsunuz
100
büyük
T
olarak, büyük
olarak
büyük
da
orta
yapacağız onu.
haritalarda. Ama bazı noktalarda işte kayboluyor.
Gamer kanalı hoş
Nitro mesela
geldin.
çok daha iyi bir jet oynadı Asuna'dan. Birizde.
Yani
Bence. Ya etkisi açısından.
tartışırız biraz.
KD tarafında. Yani performans olarak Asuna'nın jetini gördüğün zaman arada da mesela 30-35 bırakması gerekiyor ama şöyle önemli maçlara baktığımda daha o patlamayı yaşayamadı
Hiç
Asuna.
30-35'i evet görmedi ama sabit mesela işte 21-21 vurmuş son iki haritasında dünün. Ondan öncesinde yine takımının en çok skor bulan oyuncusu Gambit serisinde.
Ya bunu-
59 vurmuş 3 haritada.
Bunu neden söylüyorum? Takımından bağımsız bir Asuna ile ilgili şöyle bir durum var. Evet, Tensinet karşılaşması ama aynı zamanda Asuna unutulacak bir düelist değildi. NA tarafında evet bizim Tenzimiz var ama bir yandan da Asuna'mız var deniliyordu.
Ya,
O Asuna'yı henüz daha keşfedemedik.
İşte birazcık da o şeyle alakalı ama bunu da unutmamak lazım. 100 Thieves'de herkesin katkı verebildiği senaryolar var. Ve birazcık rol çalınabiliyor aslında. Çünkü mesela Sined'in takımında ondan rol çalabilme ihtimali olan oyuncu sayısı çok daha az ve yani Zeke'den bahsederiz orada. İşte Starzo istikrarsız. İşte Boncolt çok istikrarsız frekanslı
İstikrarsız değil,
anlamında.
istikrarlı.
Ya Hakkını yemeyelim. Hakkını yemeyelim. Yine diğer tarafta Kiles'ten bahsediyoruz. 2 tane iyi haritası oldu bu turnuvada belki.
Evet.
Ama onun haricinde istikrar işte. Böyle bir veya diğer tarafta Tenz ve Shazam dışında aslında düzenli olarak skor
Ben
katkısı.
sana tek bir şey söyleyeceğim. Şu takımdan Ascent'ten Sined'i çıkarıp Asuna'yı koysak Asuna
Aynı.
Sined'in yaptıklarının yarısını yapamaz. Bence yapamaz.
Ben tam
yapamam.
tersi.
Aynen diyeceğim.
Ben yapamayacağını düşünüyorum.
Ben öyle
Ha,
düşünmüyorum.
tamam.
Ben öyle düşünmüyorum.
Ben
Rafik.
Asuna'nın yanında bu kadar fazla
geldin, hoş
tecrübe ve
geldin.
bu kadar rahat alan olduğu
Ben
için
rol
geldiniz.
rol
Yeni
çalındığını
gelenler, hoş geldiniz.
düşünüyorum aksine.
Ben-
Abi
şöyle
yeni
söyleyeyim.
gelenler
Osman'ın
like
Sinet
atmayı,
biraz
abone
farklı bir oyuncu.
olmayanlar
Evet, ben
abone
öyle
olarak
var.
destek
Tabii,
olabilirler.
Asuna'nın
Maç
operatörü,
sonu
Sinet operatörü
1350
Tabii
VP
ki.
ve Asuna'nın
Evet,
ama Asuna'nın Reyna'sı da mesela çok daha farklı. Yani
Evet,
Sinet de
evet,
Asuna
evet.
kadar Reyna oynayabilir mi? Bundan biraz emin değilim. Çünkü Asuna'nın
Hı hı.
eğimi gerçekten birinci sınıf eğimlerden bir
Eğim
tanesi bu
konusunda
oyunda.
hiçbir
Ve
şeyimiz yok.
Şöyle Asuna'nın hani bazı oyunlar oynarız ya işte
Hı hı.
futbol maçlarında yıldızları olur oyuncuların özel paketlerde. Yani Asuna'nın da bir yıldızı var. O ekstrası var. Sana her zaman 5 saniyede 4 kill çıkartabilir anında
Evet.
ve kimse rakip bile en
Recent
doğru
maçında
oynarken bunu yapabilir. Çok değişik.
Breeze'de 1v5 atıyordu. Yani Sined'in bir canı kalmasa onu da vursa round'u alacak.
Yani aslında senin şöyle yapabileceğin bir oyuncu değil yani. Bir hata yaptım ama oradan kurtuldum
Evet.
diyebileceğim bir oyuncu
Hı hı.
değil.
Yani şey konusuna katılıyorum. Bence en bariz fark Sined'le arasında hep onun örneğini
Hı hı.
verdiğimiz için söyleyeceğim. Operatör farkı. O noktada operatörü bence top seviyede değil. En yukarı seviyede
Hı hı.
değil Asuna'nın. Ama diğer tarafta baktığımızda rifle kullanımı, Vandal
Bambaşka
Phantom
seviye.
kullanımı onu birazcık daha farklı bir profil yapıyor
Evet.
bence. Tabii ki oyununda çok ciddi eksiklikler var ama Asuna'nın daha 17 yaşında olduğunu unutmamak
tabii,
lazım.
Evet evet.
Yani çok önemli bir oyuncu. Belki dediğin gibi, belki de senin dediğin doğrudur. Sined'in performansını tekrar
Belki
etmesi
tam
kolay
tersi
değil.
olacak.
Maç sonu
Yani
göreceğiz bakalım eğer
ama
dediğim
bu
gibi
takım içerisinde dediğim gibi
minimum
ben
500
birazcık
kişi
rolünün çalındığını
yayına
düşünüyorum.
eş zamanlı
Ya
eğer
ama biraz
çünkü
da şey işte
reklam
o.
falan da var.
Belki de kendi öyle
Reklamlar
hissediyor.
sonucu
Yani bu
500
kadar
kişi denk
tecrübeli
gelirse
oyuncu var.
çekiliş yapacağız.
Ben ön plana çıkmamalı mıyım kafasına da girmiş olabilir. Bunu da bilmiyoruz.
İşte bu
Bu
tabii
Asuna'dan mı kaynaklanıyor bu sorun
Maç
yoksa
sonu
diğer
11
oyunculardan mı onu da
saat derken-
bilmiyoruz.
Yani-
Yani bu takım içindeki o şeyi bilmemiz
Bu
özellikle
arada
o
şu
taraftakini
anda bu bir
bilmemiz çok
sorun
zor.
da değil. Yani
Değil.
bu bir
E,
sorun
abi
Belli
değil.
adamlar
noktalarda oluyor
Şu
ama.
an top tier turnuvanın
Hı hı.
yarı finalindeler.
Evet.
Çok da büyük bir problem varmış gibi gözüküyor yani
Yani
baktığımızda.
gözükmüyor, sadece Under Thieves'in oyunundaki düşüşle çıkış arasında çok fazla fark var yine. Yani kötü oynadıkları zaman zaten Gambit'in mesela işte 11-3 comeback'i Gambit'e karşı ya da Ascent'le oynadıkları biz direkt gösterilebilir, Ascent gösterilebilir. Yani final kazanacak takımın, şampiyon olacak
Bu
takımın
kadar comeback atmamaları lazımdı.
ve bu kadar kötü harita geçirmemesi lazım.
Evet.
Ya da haritanın bir tarafını bu kadar kötü geçirmemeleri lazım.
Evet, doğru.
Onlar geçirebiliyorlar, o yüzden Under Thieves gayet yenilebilir bir takım. Aklıma şey geliyor yani.
Ya şu an
Maçın
turnuvada
başlamasına-
yenilemeyecek bir
Aynen
takım yok.
Aynen öyle.
İzlanda'daki
Birkaç dakika var, o
Sentinels'i
yüzden.
düşünüyorum. Oyun içerisinde çok daha rahatlardı biliyorsun.
Ama
O değil.
Ya
Aha,
bak,
o yok,
onlar,
o yok
onlar
bu arada,
finale
onu unutalım.
giderken hiçbir şekilde bir zayıflık
En
göstermiyorlardı.
azından rakiplerine karşı oyun
Bu bitecek
kontrolünü
abi, bu
hiçbir zaman
bittikten sonra da-
kaybetmemişlerdi.
Bu
Under Thieves
takımların dördünde yok.
kontrolü çok çabuk
bu
kaybediyor.
bittikten
Bu
sonra
biraz
da
sıkıntı ama ben şunu söyleyebilirim.
100
Gambit
maçı var.
en azından
100 T.
bu konuda daha aktif bir takım. Bunu söyleyelim.
Ya
Yani
Gambit kaybederse oyun planından kaybetmiyor. İşte
Evet.
yer yer sıkıntı yaşadılar. Son
Boğuldular
saniyelerde girme falan.
onlar şeyde.
Oldu.
100 Thieves'e karşı.
Ama bence asıl sıkıntı işte onlar adına belli bir oyuncuların belli haritalarda işe dahil olamaması. En büyük sıkıntısı bence orada başlıyor. İşte Shadows'tan bahsetmiştim.
Yani bunları göreceğiz. Çok özel bir gün, heyecanlı bir gün ve karşılaşmalarda tabii birazdan başlayacak, sahneye geçeceğiz ama açılış öncesinde bir VTR'miz var.
Evet, maç başlayacak birazdan.
A masterpiece lasts forever,
Tamam, olur.
while the artist will find death awaiting.
Şimdi birazdan başlayacak maç.
Awaiting.
Artık nasıl bir yüklenme varsa TR serverı çöktü yine. TR serverı GG. Yani bizim şu an izleyebildiğimiz server GG. Öyle aynen. TR serverı GG. Yayın GG. Enes hoş geldin. Aleykümselam. Hoş geldiniz, hoş geldiniz, hoş geldiniz.
Gambit! What have we just seen?
Geldi.
This could be it! 100 Thieves just rose to the occasion.
Absolutely insane from them. So we definitely want to come out here and prove that we're also the best team in NA right now. We definitely need to outperform Envy.
Oh, the drive-by from Ethan! 100 Thieves are putting up some work here.
That means you have to win the tournament.
Neyse dur
and that's
bakalım.
what we'll do.
İkinci eğer bir daha şey olursa oradan açalım.
For our semifinal matchup, I feel like the NB matchup would be easier for us.
I'll be honest, you guys aren't ready. Your son looks crazy shaky.
And Envy starting to look dominant. Envy, you've done brilliantly.
If anything, just winning today was a huge boost to all of our confidence. We know we can do it. We know we're going to be the best team in this tournament. We're here to take it.
I'm looking forward to the match no matter what.
It's not over.
See you in the semifinals.
It's time for a new champion. You guys aren't ready.
Sahnede yine iki takım.
Harbiden TR serverı GG. Vallahi öyle ya.
Takımı birazdan
Bir diğerine bakalım.
Own home, but Sean, when grand finals is on the line, you cannot show any mercy.
Absolutely not. And these are two of the hottest teams in the tournament.
Neyse,
G2,
buradan
one of the
gitmeyeceğim
only
ben.
teams remaining from the two power groups. Everyone thought the finalists would come from Group A with Vision Strikers, SMB, Ascend, or Group D with Sentinels, F4Q, and G2. G2 is the last one remaining in those two power groups, and boy, do they look good.
Oh my god. I was just watching them come out and I'm so excited. And then over to Yinzi, I was like, are you ready for this? You were like, I'm so scared.
I am very scared today. Honestly, watching this is like watching my two children fight, and you have to choose to save one of them. Sean, I'm sure as a dad, you know exactly how that feels. That's what I'm going through today. But we've spoken about this already. You know, maybe trying to gauge on the picks and bans here. This is going to be the three most important maps of all of these guys' career so far in Valorant. And on the side of Gambit, Gio, you know, we don't expect them to leave Haven open. I think that's very, very easy to predict, but it's G2 that we need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's what we were talking about before. Do G2 decide to continue on with their split ban, or are they going to try and act against what Gambit have been doing very well on, which would potentially lean to a bind ban? Now, interestingly, actually, the map that Gambit have played the most in this tournament has been Icebox, and not once have they picked it themselves. But that's a map that G2 really like. So are they going to play into their hand in that way? There's a lot of like mind play here.
Yeah, you mentioned Icebox. I think
Bakayım
there's
beni drop var mı?
zero
Yok,
doubt in
bende
my
drop
mind
yok
that
şu
we
an.
don't see Ice. We have to see Icebox
Oh,
in this
of
series,
course,
right?
yeah.
Gambit is 11-3 on it since the start of July. We have G2 7-4 on it with 4 straight, including a win against Gambit. So they will.
Yok,
They are
drop yok
probably
bende şu an.
looking to pick into
Yayınlar
Icebox
sıkıntılı,
maybe.
Tamam.
Yeah, also, you know, G2, they've kind of been flip-flopping with a split or breeze,
Yeah.
but we haven't really seen them
YouTube
kind of
GG.
veer off too much from those two maps as
Evet,
they're
harita
banned. But of
seçimleri
course,
yapılıyor şu an.
Gambit bans Haven, Sean. This is
Gambit
just, we do
Haven'ı
not see
seçti.
them play Haven unless it's in a best of 5.
It's a treat when
Yeah.
you get to see them play Haven because it's just so wild,
Yeah.
but it's not something they're
Gambit
super
Haven'ı
comfortable on,
oynamak
so
istiyoruz,
it's
onu
not
seçtiler.
shocking they veto that. G2 choosing to
Okay.
play in
G2 de
Split. You
Split'i
mentioned
seçti.
sometimes they'll ban Breeze, sometimes they'll ban Split. We've seen them play Split against Sentinels in this tournament, so I guess they're a little scared of Gambit Split.
Yeah, I mean, this leaves a lot on the table,
what?
but okay, Gambit, they're not choosing to start on Bind here, Gio.
Ben
They've
Split'in-
picked Breeze.
But this is also a
Seçilmiş,
huge risk
seçilmiş,
because
evet.
they haven't played Breeze since the EMEA playoffs where they lost to Ascend and they only took one defensive round in the entire thing. So I would imagine they've been cooking something up specifically for this game.
This is scary now for Gambit because yesterday they lost their map pick, and today they're kind of doing the same formula where they're picking into their opponent's weakness, right? On Bind, I
G2
mentioned they won
saldırı
6 straight,
tarafında
Ascent
başlıyor ilk
11-1,
maça.
Icebox 11-3, Breeze since the start of July 3-2.
Anlamadım ki.
It's a very average map for Gambit.
Yeah, that's a risk they're definitely taking, but of course, but like you both said, Icebox completely expected here. G2 have taken on this one.
Yeah, I'm entirely unsurprised. G2 have really enjoyed playing on it. Kellogg's has shown up really excellently on this map, especially. So this is G2 choosing to play to their own strengths rather than what they perceive to be Gambit's weaknesses. So there's kind of two different approaches here going on so far.
Yeah, a lot of role changes when you look at G2's Icebox. Mix
Ama
will
bir
lock
şey
in the
söyleyeyim mi?
Viper,
Bak,
Bova on the Sage. Everyone looks so comfortable though when you watch G2
Icenet
play.
dün
The rotations are
100T'ye şöyle yenildi.
fantastic on the map.
12-7'den
Okay,
veya
right, they
12-8'den çevirdi
I don't know
100T'yi.
what is going on today, but Gambit, they could have chosen Bind here if they wanted to, but they've decided to go to Ascent. Of course, they're super strong on this map. But Gio, are you surprised with the fact that they've decided to go with Ascent?
I mean, I am a little bit. I mean, both G2 and Gambit have played well on Ascent recently. But I mean, I guess, you know, G2, if I'm not mistaken, played it against Sentinels.
I believe they did, yeah.
Yeah, and so they absolutely demolished them.
Oh, on Ascent? I think it was F4Q you meant, yeah.
Oh, F4Q.
Yeah,
my bad.
F4Q. They beat them twice here already. But like we said, you know, Gambit, they were the teams that picked map 1 and
Evet,
map 3 here.
birinci-
Breeze here is probably either going to be the best thing they have ever done in this tournament, saving this map this late, throwing out some secret weapons,
Aga, ne
pulling
güzel
out, you know,
çizmişler, değil
a
mi?
trump card. Or, Sean, like you said, maybe this is a risk that they don't need to take because, like I said, Bind was right there looking at them.
Yeah, Bind was right there, but I knew they would only get 2 out of their 3 maps between Bind, Ascent, and Icebox. They're only going to get 2 of those, and they managed to get both, or they're both of them, 2 of them, and also get a pocket pick in Breeze. So I think
Az önce
Gambit
Heaven'ı
has
seçmediler mi? Sonradan
massively
değiştiriyorlar
won this
onları.
veto process
Okay.
so far.
What do you think, Gio?
Well, what I'm thinking is because I said this has to have been something that Gambit have been specifically working on for this
Baksana
game
haritanın
because of their
yönü
performance the
şekli
last time they
bile.
played it against Ascent.
Mesela bunlar
I'm
Beyse
wondering
ve
if they're going to
Aysa.
stick to the agent composition that they've
Bak
played
geriyiz çağ.
all but one time of Breeze, which is the Cypher, Jet, Sky, Sober, and Viper. The only time they've gone away from that is when they've chosen an Omen over a Jet before and gone without any duelist. That was the very first time that they played Breeze. So I am really curious to see if they do stick to that or if they're going to start edging away.
Yeah, well, we are into the Prime Gaming agent select now, and Shados has picked up on that Sky Avova, locking in the Viper. Nothing
Evet,
too
G2 saldıran tarafta
groundbreakingly
başlayacak.
different so
Gambit
far.
defans
Of
savunmayla
course, I know
başlayacak.
you love Nats on the
Gambit'in
Cypher pick as well, Sean.
avantajı
Yeah,
yüksek.
look for Nats to have
Ne?
trips all over
Değil.
the A entrance
G2'nun
or
avantajı
locking
yüksek.
down the B site.
Savunmada ne kadar alırsa
He has
ikinci
so
yarı
many quirky
savunmaya
little
geçip
setups,
daha
and I
iyi
like the
şeyler
double
sağlayabilir.
initiator look that we're going to get from Gambit
Bir de
here. The
güzel
Sky
savunma
Sova
yaparsa
combo,
çok iyi.
when there's Viper walls in play,
Avova,
is such a
Viper
good
seçmiş,
thing, and it
Koda,
looks like G2 is
Mensova,
doing the same
Nuki,
thing.
I mean, this is already
Reyna,
new because
Mixwell,
Mixwell's deciding to play Sky, which
Sky
is
ve
not
Kellogg's
usually
yine
what
her
they go
zamanki
for.
gibi
I mean,
jet aldı.
they usually have
Gambit
the
tarafında
Jet and
ise
Reyna. And then
Viper, Defo, Jet, Redgar, Sova, bir Cypher gördüm, sonuncuyu göremedim.
We
O da
do.
sürpriz
We've
olsun
seen
bize.
them, I think, rock a similar comp against Oxygen the last time they played it. But of course, this is, like we said, the EMEA versus EMEA semi-final. And who better to take you guys through this than Midgeman and Tombiz?
Thank you so much, guys. Wow, what a veto to kick things
Teşekkür
off here.
ederim
We're already
arkadaşlar, çok
hyped up for the
heyecanlı bir
game,
maç var.
but now I'm hyped up for this map.
I feel like
Ama
this is a
şimdi harita
curveball coming out
seçimlerine
from
bakalım
Gambit.
dedi.
They knew that would be left through likely because they also don't play it, and
Yalnız
they've taken a
ilk
risk. I
harita
will say
Breeze
I'm a little
olması
bit
da ayrı
nervous
bir
for them
güzel.
because all in all, I think looking across the maps that both these teams play, I would have given them the advantage anyway.
Sure.
So a risk may not have been needed, but we'll see. G2, they've come into every series prepared, and already
Oo,
they're going to
Gambit
get
iyi başladı.
slaughtered. An aggressive start out from Gambit, fighting into middle, and it's left on to Kellogg's to really do some damage.
Such a good start for Gambit here on the defensive side of their map choice. A surprise
Ama
for
onun
G2 to be
iyi
taking this
timing.
battle on Breeze, I'm sure. What a tough round to win out. The spike dropped down in middle.
Yalnız Kellogg'un yeri çok iyi. Bir timing gelir oradan. Çok iyi. Defo'ymuş, pardon.
Immediately, we're seeing that aggression come out of Gambit, rushing down middle,
Ha, şimdi
fighting an
Kellogg's
elbow
tek
together
kaldı.
with Defo and Nats. And that kind of sets a scary tone for the rest of this map because G2 did not look prepared for that.
No.
Edgar geliyor,
like
bir
to see
timing
it.
olur
Like
mu?
the fact that Gambit, a lot of the time when it comes to their defensive
Timing
sides,
Defo.
are fairly
Gambit
passive. They're
1-0
known for how slow
galip
they
başlıyor.
actually
Hadi
play.
bakalım.
This time they've just gone, okay, let's just destroy them in this pistol round. Let's catch them off guard, not only with the map choice, but the style of play. I think it's also important that we talk about the two main duelists for these teams, the Jets, who are going to be performing, because from what we've seen in matches so far, for example, the only match that we actually saw Gambit lose, that was the worst performance we've seen from Defo in this entire tournament.
Yes.
Kellogg's has also been on pretty much. I think he's one of the top 5 players in the whole thing. So these two players are going to be a big focal point for this matchup. And because Breeze is so open, it makes it even more interesting.
Now they're both making a big name for themselves when it comes to
G2
Masters
Echo geliyor.
3. Over on Gambit's side, you see that full buy up, but it's the Marshall in the hands of Kellogg's that can cause a couple of problems for Gambit. No surprise that even though they don't want to invest many credits into this round, they decided to just give that scope over to Kellogg's. As you said, such an open map with so many long-range duels, but Gambit are trying to avoid giving any opportunities away at this point.
He would have been spotted out by that. Kellogg's is going to be able to find Chronicle, though. That's the main man on this A site dealt with. Nats is also going to be here, but a lot of his utility is on the other side of the map. A little bit close for comfort there. And we know that if they give too many opportunities for Kellogg's, in fact, Evova's now found a gun. This is starting to fall apart.
Kellogg's
That Marshall, the one weapon invested into, comes out of the round with 4 kills. And you highlighted Kellogg's as one of the top players in the tournament, someone to keep an eye on in this series. And he waits until round 2 to pull out that kind of play.
Defo 4K's the pistol, Kellogg's 4K's round 2.
Bak şimdi.
I'm not sure,
Çok iyi
even though it's
jet yani.
like 6
Adam var bir
PM
jet
here in
yani.
Germany, I don't think I've woken up yet
Ama
to be able to
kendini
cope with that
geliştirmiş
sort
yani
of
şu
play this
turnuvada.
early on. How has that just happened? And that, we also said that maybe this looks a little bit worrying at the moment for G2. Well, that's even scarier. If you're on the side of Gambit, you've just lost a round to basically one player.
Oh, hey, such an open map, such a long-range one. That's where you think the rifles would have the advantage, your bulldogs and so forth. But G2 worked perfectly around Kellogg's to give him those opportunities to open up the map. Now, we come into this round and Gambit have decided to go for pretty much a full eco. Similar to what we saw from G2, it's going to be 2 sheriffs invested up into, but for the most part, this is not a round that they expect to do anything in, and we're seeing Chronicle get completely shut down by that split through mid. They've got a spike plant, and it's so hard for Gambit to get back in.
Yeah, in the early fight, G2 spotted 4 players. So at that point, it's a fairly easy rotation back to A. They just had to deal with Chronicle, obviously one of the maps that we actually see him play the Viper because they actually pick up a Sentinel alongside it. You're not going to take Nats off a Cypher, even though he is incredibly good at that Viper play. For now, though, this is G2 just earning up not only credits because of all the rifles they kept and stole from the previous round, but also some of those ultimates. Nukia is actually going to get dropped
Karşılıklı
though.
takas
So
geldi.
it may be a little bit more costly than they would have liked. If Shados can get away with the rifle, that'd be
Ay
great.
Ninja bakar
He's trapped
mısın
though. He
ya?
has to get all these kills to escape.
G2
And it's just gonna be a
1-0'dan
little
2-1'e
upgrade
getirdi
taken.
ve sadece bir kayıpla.
Kellogg's can manage to find a rifle as well. I think he did. Just about. Yeah, he did. He got a bulldog out of it. So, in terms of econ lost, it's practically nothing for G2. They're going to be very happy with that round, especially considering they did lose the pistol and now they're 2-1 up.
Yeah, this is one of those maps as well where I feel like it's almost... It's the map in the series that's the most confusing, because we know that the last time we saw these two teams play on Ascent, which will be the last map, it was very dominant for Gambit, but it's also a very good map for G2. And then you've got Icebox, where I think G2 have probably looked like the best Icebox team in the tournament so far. So I would almost say that if Gambit lose this, I'm a little bit worried for them, but if they can take this home and it goes to a third, the series will probably be theirs.
I think I'm with you there. Over on the G2 side, after a fantastic start, we're not even going to see that bulldog used by Kellogg's to start the round out. He's popping the blade storm, try and get some presence towards this A side, but they don't want to overcommit. I think for a moment there, you probably started to contemplate, does Mixwell flash through the wall? You'd maybe updraft and try to grab a pick, but they decide they don't really want to fight this. And they've dragged over a pretty heavy rotation. The B site now solely held by Defo. He has no utility to support him over there. So if that operator doesn't connect for multiple kills, they could be in a lot of trouble if G2 went there. Because of that pressure, Shados rotates back over. And now G2 find a little bit of an emptier side. Still
Gördün mü nereyi kapattı Viper'la?
The
Ben
scary
size
thing
bunu
is
çekerim
it's
yakında.
both the Viper and the Cypher here. So there's so
Hadi
much
gittim ben.
utility. Kellogg's is just going to be picked out of the sky. Cage is being popped as well to give him a little bit more time to play around some of these angles, but Nats is going to get dropped. Mixwell, he's found another, and an afterplant is inevitable.
Really good call by G2 there. They realized, okay, we've seen the Cypher, but there's probably... Viper's still here, right? Has to be, from what they saw earlier with Chronicle being the only player on the site when they had that eco.
Çekeceğim ya da çekmesem bir de şey yapacağım. Ya çekmeyle biraz
It's shut down through the door.
Var böyle bir videolar.
İşte farklı şeylerden onları alıp birleştirip video yapacağım bir tane. But look who's cutting them off. Nukia already coming up through middle. And he's going to go towards this B site to try and shut them down. He's hearing the steps. The rest of his team are rallying to his aid. And now he's going to try to stop those rifles from being carried through.
Gördün yerini.
Dealt with.
Nice.
Shot to the back of the head takes Defo down. That might even be an off picked up for G2. At least they had the option. And yeah, Nukia's going to bring it through.
Yeah, that's a solid round for them. A fall by investment from Gambit, nothing really achieved. The site looking a little bit vulnerable on A especially. Like if you have both Viper and Cypher on
Bir
a
de
site,
şöyle
you
Gambit
get one
iyi
kill,
başladı
then
yani
just walk in
1-0'la başladı ya ilk ekoel. Şey gidiyor ondan sonra sana hani maçın başı sana artı bir özgüven geliyor.
Relatively heavily into the attack side for both sides. I don't think I've seen too many fantastic defensive setups just yet. I am still going to get a little bit worried for Gambit if they go that far down on their own map choice.
Now, G2 have massively impressed me recently, but Mixwell won't be doing any impressing right here and now. The operator spotted out Redgar, shut down Avova. That's a push in through the tube that has given them massive control. And now with a two-man advantage and some rifles recovered, they can just back off and run this down, allow G2 to make the next move.
Huge start. Again, the only rounds they've had any success have been based of heavy amounts of aggression, and with the Blade Storm in play, a rifle retrieved. This is now looking like a very good spot for Gambit to be in. G2, however, they're going to get spotted, and the Empress comes into play.
This is where Nukia closes in on the site. To take Chronicle down, but he can't quite catch the spray. And moving in through that wall is always going to be a risk. The Hunter's Fury trying to finish him off on the site, but nothing is to be connected by that. Kellogg's surely not about to walk on through that wall. There's a flank in play, and they have absolutely no... Oh, never mind! Redgar gets dropped. The reaction on Coldamenta brings it into a pretty winnable round for G2. They're on the A site. The second flanker on his way. Nats so late to the party, but that might just be the timing that they need.
Surely it can't go wrong twice. Nats is going to land the shot onto Nukia, but they need to now pick their battles. Which direction will they go in? Coldamenta again drops one of the flankers, but they should know that Nats is still here. Information to be garnered. Kellogg's to support him, but it's only going to be the trade onto Coldamenta, and Shados finds the final kill. It is a messy round. It's a shaky round, but it's a round nonetheless.
I was getting a bit worried there with the ring a rosy. Time starts to tick away, but still plenty.
3 flankers. Who has 3 flankers?
And, you know, the thing was, they obviously found Defo, but they knew that Nats was there because he got a kill earlier. If it had been the other way around, they might have gotten caught by that 3rd flanker as well. That was insane. I really don't think they expected Redgar to be there. It looked like just god-tier reactions by Coldamenta. And even though he does such a good job at holding down that flank, he ends up falling in the end. Great recovery by Shados, but a fumbled round from Gambit that nearly cost them heavily.
Yeah, it's a weird one because they win the round off what was a thrifty, so it's good, but at the same time, in the manner that they won it, it definitely wasn't as clean as it could have been with the 2 opening frags that they found. I think maybe they're realizing that this has been a bit more shaky than they would have liked, so they're going to take themselves an early tactical pause. This is a team that I think everybody, well, pretty much around the world in Valorant has been hugely impressed with, but the one problem we've had with Gambit is the fact that their mental can sometimes be a little bit off. Like, there's not many teams in this tournament that have been winning by a huge margin and lost 10 rounds in a row to lose the map. Like, that is, I think that's only happened to them, in fact. So, yeah, good time to take a little bit of an early pause, give both coaches a little bit of time to talk things over.
Yeah, this is a great call by Gambit as well, just to really hammer home the fact that it is not too common to see teams win a round and then call for that tag pause right away. Sometimes you let the momentum carry you away, but Gambit want to remain cyber focused. They know the team that they're up against. I mean, they know them pretty damn well, right? They're from the same region, and so you definitely don't want to underestimate them and fall into the trap of letting G2 have too much space. Because so far, I have to say, a lot of their attack rounds have looked very good. I liked what they did in particular on that A push, where they wanted to go, decided to fall back, and bait out the rotations to B, and then move back into A when it's that little bit easier. They've been conscious of where Chronicle might be, even without seeing him, assuming that it'll be on the A site. Looks like G2 have a pretty good read on Gambit's defense, at least to start things out.
Both teams sending out the Tigers early. I believe they've spotted the luck. Actually, I was going to say just spotted the luck of Avovo. They've actually killed him in the first few seconds. Again, these aggressive pushes coming out of Defo. And because they've lost so much control, I wonder if G2 might have to just pick up the pace.
Aya girecekleri kesinleşti biraz.
They don't seem to be though. And that play around middle by Coldamenta, I have my eyes on. These guys are playing more conventional, pushing towards the site, trying to see space. What's Coldamenta going to be doing as the round goes on and with 2 kills in their hands? I mean, now that question is null and void. They've got the site and the plant. I was expecting much more resistance out of Gambit there, and now we come into a 3v4 retake. The defensive side, and still Coldamenta sitting down in mid, waiting to catch the rotations.
Yeah, the fact is, even if he sees absolutely nothing, it lets the remaining players know that there can't really be much coming from behind. Nice shot from Defo. This operator has been one of the saving graces that he's had so far. And the peek out from UK is going to meet the same fate. It's now starting to fall apart a little bit for G2.
Oh, the one thing they had was Coldamenta's position being unknown, but in goes that ultimate from Cypher, the neural theft, revealing him, and they'll shut him down immediately. The flash out does absolutely nothing for Mixwell. And just in the nick of time, they will get the defuse. Another 1 round for Gambit, and that one actually started quite poorly, considering they lose the A site so easily. But that retake, you have to look at Defo for that. On point.
It's not really been missing a beat so far. I think the only rounds that we've really seen them win, they've just gone to the other side. Or they killed him on the flank once after the plant had already gone in. It is still a little bit worrying for me, though. Like, I'm looking at this from Gambit's perspective and saying, if it takes Defo getting 4 kills in one of the round, 3 kills on a retake in another round, they're not convincing. And their A-site hold has been really weak. That round was Kellogg just walking in. They didn't do anything else. He just went, all right, go on, lads. And just stroll into the site. Like, too easy.
You saw now Gambit are fired up. So shade us with the big let's go right after they win that round. Now they're looking for a little bit more. In a mid-split, very quickly upping the pace. G2 looking at the B site for what feels like the first time in an early round, and they are not finding any success. Redgar shutting them down, and Nats sitting in mid, holding that control, is ready to take a fight, but he does not even need to support his teammate. Redgar is just doing it all, and although he'll fall in the end, Avova has a 1v3. The spike is down in middle, so he can't even pop that Viper's Pit to try and maintain control. Instead, he has to push right into this Gambit hold.
Yeah, this looks like an impossibility. He has his own screen, maybe trying to bait them into the fact that he's pushing from a different angle, trying to section off some of these spots, but Defo is just lasered in on the exact position he's going to be going. It's just horrible. He's got the poison orb again, maybe expecting him to split through mid, but they're watching this. They're ready for this. Part of over still connects the shot. A 1v4 turn too. It's now possible for him to bring something back here.
Yeah, the snake bite down's actually going to stop them from peeking pretty much entirely. And if he gets to the site and puts down that ultimate, it could be scary. The wall up, but it's not in time. Nats shuts him down on the cross, and 4 will be found from Gambit. These rounds are coming pretty close. They're still getting them on the board, and there's a certain point where it just doesn't matter anymore for G2. They've got to start to find some success, especially considering how successful, not this one, but some of the other early rounds have been.
I do really like the screen that's being placed as well on the B side. Like, it has a multitude of uses. One of them is able to section off that mid split, so that you're either going to have the players peeking in from mid, and then you can fight them, as we saw the run through the screen coming out. But it also actually has an extra layer to it, because I've seen players use it to almost cut off short in mid, so that you can just drop it whenever you like, and if there's somebody wrapping around the elbow, you basically have a free kill, because there's no way they're expecting you to do that. So it's a cool screen. It's definitely been used before, but I'm liking the fact that that just created complete chaos, and, well, G2 couldn't quite handle it.
And it has been a swap up as well. The setups from Gambit haven't been consistent. That wall we've previously seen used towards the A side as well. So it now becomes pretty difficult to predict exactly how Gambit are going to structure these early rounds and their defense in general. Not too surprised then that a timeout comes in, as if you can't really figure out exactly how your opponents are going to play now that they've had that little bit of a change up. It's time to figure out how you want to play and how to take that control yourself.
Yeah, I think that maybe a little bit of a throw-in round for G2 to test the waters on the B side a bit. They don't want the A side to get too overly stacked and complacent after they've gone in that direction for a lot of the time. But I do think the A side's definitely been a little more vulnerable now. Although there's a weapon missing, at least you can see on the scoreboard, it's not going to be for long. Like, this A shop orb is one that it's pretty easy for the attackers to get.
It normally is, yeah. I see Shados, though, sat outside A, possibly ready to pop a flash around there, and by the looks of it, he was going to put in his Tiger to try and catch them. No, a flash, in fact, set to come around. He knows now they're going for the orb, and unfortunately, it was Kellogg's able to dash away. Kolda Mensa covering, and they've got their orb, but they've also got a pick to start the round off. That is fantastic for G2.
I feel like you had to do that as a team. Like, it just the time it takes for you to flash and peek, there's already somebody waiting on the off angle, avoiding it smart from Kolda Mensa, and he's already managed to find a second opener. Nats actually wins that, Joel. It looked like he was dead for sure, and well, speaking of another player who's dead for sure.
That lurked absolutely fantastic. We know him for this when it comes to Viper. Strange to see it on an agent like Sky, but I love it. Was that a connection?
No, he got killed for a minute, I think. Oh, actually, no, it was from Avova.
Looked pretty.
He didn't get an assist, so I'm going to go off the assist.
Poor guy. Either way, Nats on 30 HP after that mid-fight we saw earlier. The only player to find a kill in this round, and we said that G2 needed to figure out their attack. They got to decide exactly how they wanted to approach it. And to be honest, right here, I don't think they did anything special. They held for aggression coming out of A main, and they got 2 players. Both Defo and Shados just running and playing right into their hands.
Burada var ya oyuncu düşürmeyi
I think a lot of that again comes off. I would much rather see that sort of play come out from a couple of players, so you can have the setup flash rather than trying to do it yourself. I think the other thing as well is both teams just read into that, like, okay, if they're going to be going for an orb, I'm going to try and stop them, and if we know we're going for an orb, they know we're going for an orb, so I'm also going to try and counter. And then it goes down a million different roads, and you have a book that's 4,000 pages long.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen some of these strat books. They run
Alliance
pretty
only
deep.
have one of a couple of pages, though, right?
Yeah, we just had sticky notes.
Try not to lose 1v4.
Yeah. Don't let Logan kill 4 of you with a sheriff. That was actually the only thing I wrote down, and it didn't work, unfortunately. No. Yeah.
Tried your best.
I really did. And that A side hold's been going, it's kind of shaky. I think Chronicle's having a pretty tough time to start things out. And we look again, no surprise, G2 are looking to pressure out the A side, but they're spreading out into a default. And this is a big change on what we've seen from some of the rounds previously, where they were very much centered around an aggressive start to the rounds. That Hunter's Fury popped out, actually connects. Nuke is down on 70 HP. That's going to be a nice start, but of course, if he does get a kill, he can heal right back up, or even an assist.
Starting to re-aggress towards this A site once again. The early aggression on B not really garnering too much. G2 do well to try and deny it, and now there's a counter of the Hunter's Fury. It's awkward. Chronicle's actually still alive in the back of that. A little bit unsure how he's managed to survive, but the timing of that. He gets 2 kills off the back. Sure, he's traded out. But he was so low on HP. I don't think he'll care at all.
We talked about him having a rough time. He certainly did in this round. Oh, look at that push coming up from Redgar. Great timing and a great kill coming out of the man himself. Sure, Shados falls, but a 3v1 spike down, and Coldamenta with it all to do. A big clutch needed, and Nats, again on the flank, is the one to close that out. I mean, you gotta look at Chronicle there and say there's no way he should have gotten away with that. He got tagged up by a drone, then he got Hunter's Fury, then plays inside his orb, picks it up for that little bit of extra advantage, right? You don't wait for the decay to, or the orb to disappear. You pull it up, it goes pretty quickly, and you get that peeker's advantage and the element of surprise, which, well, certainly worked out that time.
That's something I know about both. I think it was Bala and Sean have been talking about throughout, is the Gambit are the team that do that the most.
For sure.
Like utilizing their own orb to give you that slight split-second advantage of seeing the other person. And, well, that was gross. I don't think that should be allowed. You should be able to do that. But you know what? I enjoy it.
Yeah. Big shout out to Chronicle for that one. Putting on a show on the A site and making G2 second guess whether or not that A site is really a weakness. Nats opening this one up. That is an aggressive mid-fight. He just took out, well, from exactly where we're seeing him, right? But Nuki is up close, and Nats is ready. Now he's going to have all the information on where G2 are going, and these B-site players, Chronicle in particular, the man who won out that previous round, is going to completely stop them with this Viper utility.
Yeah, this is the problem. Once the openers go Gambit's way, it becomes a lot more difficult. Nats is just so gross, just repositioning and catching both players. He's gonna go for the ace, he hits the dink! Oh, that's heartbreaking. Almost the perfect round from Nats, but you know what, I think his teammates will clean that one up quite easily.
Yeah, 10 HP left on the guy. It's pretty reasonable. Well done to Nats here. And look at this fight I'm talking about. It's so nasty. They saw the poison orb. I mean, it's their own one, right? They put it down. They must have known there was a gap in it, but they didn't quite expect that Nats would be swinging out wide like that, showing them that he is not scared to take those aggressive fights. We know Gambit as a slow team on the attack, but oddly enough on the defense, they seem to be a much more aggressive team.
Well, yeah, at least on this map in particular. Like, a lot of the time we do talk about Nats, especially being very ratty. Like, he's like almost hunkered down in the site, but
we
on
had that
this map
breakdown the other day where he sat still for a minute inside a Viper's pit.
But now, very aggressive. Now, we do have Kellogg's back on his Marshall, but it hasn't started quite the way they would have liked, and Shados doesn't look like he wants to give them any space at all. The flash is perfect, though. Mixwell going to be able to pick off one. They've had some trouble in these anti-eco rounds, so Gambit have to be a little bit careful here not to get overzealous.
Mixwell doesn't manage to recover that weapon. It's a little bit too far out for him to risk it. Viper's pit up on the side. Still doesn't actually let them get over towards that weapon, but they'll be facing out behind it. Kellogg suffering a little bit of damage. He'll fall back in, and look at this. They're just spraying away. Gambit looking to section them off completely. Gonna have the Trailblazer put through, looking for them inside that pit, but look at where Kellogg's is. He's a great angle, but a whiffed shot. Nats finishes him off. Avova and Mixwell waiting for these players to push on in. They'll take the fight on their terms, but Gambit will come out on top. 4 players alive coming into the final round of the half. They're looking pretty strong on this defense.
Yeah, it was starting off a lot shakier than what we've seen. As I said, that A site looked a bit rough, and in this round in particular, you do have to say that it was mostly just pistols coming in for G2. So it's not the end of the world, but it's the way that they've started to take map control away from their opponents that has started to excite me a little bit. As said, Nats starting to take fights into middle. You've seen Defo get aggressive all around the map. And now for G2, as said, I expect Gambit to be better on the attack, which is not something I'll say very often. So I'm a bit worried now for G2.
Yeah, we can say it about Gambit on a couple of maps for sure, but yeah, when it comes to Breeze, G2, remember, they won that second round. And since then, things have been a little bit shaky because Gambit start to take fights on their own terms. They start to play much more aggressive. And they've slotted out a couple of players here. The updraft just about saves Defo. 20 HP. With an operator, he's still going to be very dangerous. That wall going to be coming down fairly soon. Kellogg's wants an advanced position for when it does fall. Flash through the peak after. I love that free control, but Redgar's conscious of it. He's very worried about a player already being close, and as Kellogg's comes out, is Redgar ready for this fight? seem to be, but Kellogg's gets the better of him. 2v3. Oh, and he goes back through with the man advantage. That was a bit ludicrous. And now that could cost G2 heavily.
Trying to clear out some of these backlines, positions. The Tiger will leave. Chronicle tagged, can't quite run away, and now it's left all onto Defo. 7 HP to try and pull off this clutch. A 1 versus 2, and the time is ticking. He has to go now. It's the last round. There's no value of keeping that operator anymore, and I don't think he stands a chance in hell. One player may be dropped, but he does not know where Avova lies, and he does not have the time. It'll be a 5th round on the board for G2, dragging things back a little bit, but still a solid half for Gambit.
Yeah, I think Gambit are going to be pretty happy with their defense, and this is the worry, right? G2 decided to start there. Now we move into the second half where I feel like Gambit are going to be so much more comfortable. You said it as well earlier, Tom, and they're firing on all cylinders. We're seeing Defo start out the map in spectacular fashion, but even when Chronicle was stumbling towards the beginning, he really started to find his stride. Let's throw things over to the desk to get their opinions here before we jump into half number 2.
Thank you very much, boys. Now, that last round we saw, Sean, was absolutely huge for G2. They had to win that.
Yeah, they had to stem the bleeding, right? Because they got those 3 rounds early thanks to Kellogg's going absolutely ham with the Marshall. That was such a crazy second round. But after that, they really fell flat, right? A couple grimy rounds throughout the half. But it looks like Gambit kind of settled into the game, and now everyone looks comfortable in the team, not just Nats.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, Gambit took a timeout, and after that, you saw that they changed the way they were using their Viper's walls, and when they started repositioning them, it made it a lot more of a commitment for G2 to make pushes, especially over onto the A side, and also the way they kind of pushed into mid as well would have meant that it's harder for G2 to go that way too, and I think that started to restrict them somewhat.
Yeah, sorry. No, I was going to say, mentioning Viper, Chronicle, he got hit with the Hunter's Fury on that one round. He drops his smoke and does what I call the swoop peek, where you pick up the poison orb, you kind of see the enemies before they see you, and he gets 2 frags with like super low HP. That was a game changer in my eyes, because G2 could have run away with the half with that round.
I'm also Nats on our screen here with those kind of stats. We're not even surprised at this point, sure, but also talk me through the benefits of having a Cypher on this map.
Yeah, so this is where they're going to benefit. They're going to benefit this upcoming half, where he can just kind of put his trips on A or B, leave a camera in mid, and they can ignore areas of this massive map. Whereas G2 had to spread the map or do very, very fast executes. Gambit, we're going to see that bleed the clock style that they run everywhere.
Yeah, I think the nice thing as well about running a Cypher instead of a Killjoy on this map as well is you're not limited by space, because Killjoy, you know, you've got to stay within that 40 meters of your utility in order for it to work. The lockdown's kind of the same deal, whereas Nats can pretty much put his utility where he wants, and then he can go and play in his corner.
Well, Breeze was Gambit's pocket pick. Mitch and Tom, let's see what else they have in store for us.
Well, I'm sure there's plenty yet to be seen, even just here on this map. Well, they've had a little bit of time to chill out, though. Just like that Teddy. Well, he's having a good time.
You're obsessed with all this, aren't you?
They're just so cute. They're so cute.
I feel like everybody loves the little Easter eggs of them just hiding around the map.
Get the tea parties. Yeah.
It's all good, but we're back into the pistol. It's serious stuff here for G2, looking to try and make a comeback on their opponent's map choice. They got Icebox coming up next, and Gambit almost managed to catch them off guard again. A similar start, though. 4 players kicking it off on the B site. Only 1 on A for G2. And that 1 player about to come under pressure.
Yeah, this is going to be a big challenge for Avova, as you see, because he gets dropped immediately.
How much control they've got.
This is insane. Gambit have done practically nothing by the way of heads-up duels, and they've got the A site, they've got the plan. In fact, they look like the defenders.
I am not sure if they'll be able to find a way back into this one. I'm also not sure if they'll even know how close some of these players are actually going to be. Defo needs to be cleared instantly, and that's exactly what they get. But there is a second wraparound coming through even later from Redgar. Again, this duel is going to be everything, and Mixor wins that as well. Sure, it's traded out, but now they know where these players are going to be sitting. Kellogg's picks off another, but Chronicle and Nats are fighting strong. It's left all onto Nuclear. Doesn't know where the remaining 2 are. Watches them wrap around, hits the dink onto the first, at least leaving him low, but the time ticking far too low. Chronicle, all he has to do is stay alive here, but I don't think he's got enough time.
Close.
It's going to be close, but it isn't enough.
Now, just a second away, and indeed, 1.09 to be exact. That's going to be another round on the board for Gambit, winning out the pistol. But remember, the second round didn't exactly go their way. The problem is this time around G2 are on the defense, and things are about to get much more difficult because winning out these pistols, contrary to what we would say if this was a map like Ascent or Split, where pistols can do a lot because there's so many choke points and close range angles for you to play off of. But with a map as open as Breeze and as long range for so many of the early duels, things like mid control, for example, you pretty much have to give up, and those are such valuable avenues for Gambit to push through.
Well, they won the second round in the last. If they can win it again, it might be a good opportunity for a comeback. Nukia is already going to hit all the footsteps. I'm loving the pace of Gambit. This is not something we're particularly used to, but Mixwell is already going to find the first shot. Defo looking to wrap around, but it'll be Chronicle to find the kill, evening things up once again and guaranteeing the afterplant. And of course, Nats, he's on the other side of that.
Oh yeah, he is on a late flank, let's just say that. That's going to completely catch G2 by surprise. Chronicle picking up one right away. They're picking off, and by the time Nats gets
guys,
here, the round's already over.
Don't worry, I'm coming in behind.
I'm behind them, boys, and the thing is, it really doesn't matter because he gets there when they're all dead. But where he was coming from as well, they could easily know that there could be a player there, with or without a flank. 9-5, Gambit really steaming into the lead here, and this is, remember, their map pick. Now they're on the attack where we think they're going to look that little bit more comfortable, and so far it's definitely been the case.
And they're not a bad Icebox team. Like, you look at it statistically, I think over the last few months they've been 15-4. Now, some of those have been a close game versus Crazy Raccoon. We thought they might be a little bit easier. And a loss to 100 Thieves where they were very far in the lead. So I would favor G2, but only just. So if this is a blowout from here on, well, I would be a little bit worried for them.
Now, we talked about the map pool, and the desk said that they think this looks to be Gambit's, right? And they won out the veto, and certainly with this surprise pick, let's see what G2 have in store. This is a round they desperately want, but they've lost Nukia right away. The shot not quite going to connect. Mixwell spotted out, will be traded. Kellogg's does well to find one. That flank cut off completely. Shados now all alone, the bonus round, but he's managed to get his teammates Vandal as he moves around the left side. The first kill goes his way, but Kellogg's is that little bit too quick. He starts with a whiffed shot, but he finishes with 3 kills, and G2 find a 6th.
Yeah, it seems like they're going to need him, because even in this round where, for the majority, it was going to be more of a bonus coming out of the side of Gambit, they almost lose it. Like, Shados able to get himself a rifle at the end and bringing it down to just one player. Now you look at the buys that are going to be coming up. Well, there's an operator on Defo's side, so it's not like he's got any cash missing at all. And on the other side of things, Kellogg's has actually had to give over his operator just so the Mixwell will actually have a weapon. Yeah,
it makes sense when he's got the Blade Storm, but obviously that's going to remove a lot of the possibilities for taking those more aggressive operator duels. Let's see what Kellogg's wants to do with this Blade Storm. You see him inside the hall right now. Shados picking up the Seekers. They can work with those in the later stages. Chronicle's already spotted out Kellogg's, knows that he's playing around this area. With a minute 15 on the clock, Gambit, they don't want to just run in blind. They're going to slow it down.
Already. A minute gone.
I've got your trail.
They're actually going to pop themselves the Seekers. Give at least a little bit of information over if anybody was actually going to be close by. Obviously, with weaker weaponry currently available, they might have tried to take some more aggressive positions. They're going to follow this up. Avova has to do an awful lot here. Sat at the back, and he gets absolutely nothing. Nukia and Kellogg's, though, have found a killer piece.
Nice shot out of Kellogg's. Quick return, though. Gambit right back in the fight. The spike is down, but it can be recovered. There's no one close by to punish for the side of G2. As Gambit make those rotates in, you can see Redgar. It's going to be a little late to the fight. You've got a 1v1 brewing between Cole Dementa and Shados. It's whether this fight is found soon, because there's 15 seconds left, and Shados needs to cross over. He's thinking about doing it with a flash. Instead, he just goes straight in for the peek.
10 seconds left.
They'll get this plant in just in time. The recon to catch him as he fades out is taken down by Redgar, but now on 4 HP. He's the only hope of the team. The Vandal in his hand, and he connects the instant headshot, but Mixwell, perfect flash to close out the round. 7 found for G2. These rounds have been close, but ultimately they're going the defense's way, and G2 are right back in the game.
Yeah, and this is when now Gambit will actually have some troubles of their own when it comes to the weaponry and the credits that they'll have going into the next round. They are, however, in the same spot we saw previously from G2, where they are one off the Blade Storm. So fighting for one of those early orbs is not going to be too much of a problem for them. Although this round was close, I expect this one to be a little bit further into their favor. Now, as said, they can't take this one lightly. In fact, there's even maybe some heavier investments coming in from Gambit that you might have expected.
Yeah, to be honest, I was looking at, in my head at least, a pretty low buy out of Gambit, nothing really to play with, and instead 3 of their players have weapons. I'm looking at Chronicle, especially the Marshal on him. Very strange over on that attack side, especially with the value that can be brought when you look at the Viper wall, but it's only going to be used to fake out in the early round, putting it down on A to try and pressure them. And if they find this pick onto Avova, they'll have the ability to blitz in quickly and find a very, very weak B site. Nats as well, look at the patience. He was waiting for Nuki, but he turns at the wrong moment, still manages to get the first bullet off, but he receives the one to the head, and Nuki keeps on firing. That's a great hold out of G2 already. Avova still yet to really do anything on the backside as the team runs away. Flank out of Redgar caught. It's only a classic, so even with the damage, he's going to get shut down. And there's not really a lot of opportunities. Even the tag just instantly returned on the stronger weapons for G2 reigning supreme.
Yeah, 1 versus 5. After the last couple of rounds that G2 have had, this is pretty big for them if they can win it flawlessly, even though there will be a purchase in the next round for Gambit. It will give them a little bit of wiggle room on the defensive side. And UK, you know what, he's popping off. A Prime Gaming flawless round. Finance is there, and he even got his Empress online.
Not too shabby. No, he had that on pretty quickly as well, because he was just dominating in those early fights. And look at this. It's not often that Nats gets the first bullet, and you get to return fire.
Yeah, he also picks up the Blade Storm as well. And that was one of the major threats. Now, these early rounds, they've been close. But for Gambit, as said, we know that sometimes the pressure can get to them. They've now had opportunities to, well, basically put them up to 10, 11, maybe more.
Yep.
So we'll see if it starts to affect them a little bit. It also means that we're going to see the operator out this time. UK, he's not going to get anything done.
Yeah, big shutdown in the early round out of Gambit. We know their defaulty play, and I mean, it was only the first couple of seconds, so of course, they're still holding down. The same thing is true of the entirety of the map. Cypher Utility holding for the A push. Look at just how much control Nats is garnering all by himself. He's holding down basically half of the map, at least half of the avenues that they have to aggress on, if not more. While the rest of the team tries to work up through middle. Pressure in onto that B side. Still no intention of where they want to go, and they just keep on finding picks.
Defo is on one today. Like, land Defo just seems like a completely different beast, and Avova, there's no chance, absolutely none. They were waiting patiently. The Gambit default strikes once again and leaves. Just a couple left. That'll be an ultimate orb coming in at least.
No, he started to run.
Oh, it's a little bit awkward, but luckily Redgar's there to help out his buddy.
I guess they were a little worried maybe that was Kellogg's with the operator, right? So they try to jump peek around the corner. Doesn't really punish them in the end. And this operator will just look to save on the back of the B site, but it's unlikely they allow that. And now they've spotted him as well. This gets so much more dangerous. Nats is already in their spawn. He's just running at him, knife out. Kellogg's knows that he's up close, so that's a free frag. But how much more can he get? He needs to find so many kills if he wants this weapon for the next round. The Cloudburst used to isolate some angles. This is something Kellogg's does so damn well. But in the end, doesn't look like he gets away with it. Double digits hit for Gambit. And that was, I mean, there were a couple of mixed weapons there for G2, so I understand why they get that little bit more aggressive and try to force the early fights. Unfortunately, they run right into Gambit, who are waiting with open arms.
Yeah, Defo. He was like this on the defensive side as well. Having a superb performance in a map where they desperately need it, it seems. And as you mentioned, a few weaker weapons here and there, but this is now the credit spent. For G2, they need to win this round, otherwise we could be seeing this map now slip out of control. And I don't think it's been particularly close in a lot of the rounds. They got off to at least a little bit of a hot streak, but Gambit so far have looked like the better side. And we're going to see this early aggression into mid, the drone to clear out some positioning, and Nats just making sure there's nobody peeking, but it's currently being held by Coldamenta, and he'll win that duel.
Yes, he will. Nats falling right away. So much utility removed from Gambit, and we know how much they rely on him holding down map control. Like, the A side is now completely open for aggressive plays. So Gambit have to keep that in mind when it comes to this late stage of the round. And it looks like, again, they'll look with favor towards the B side. G2 playing complete retake on B. And this Viper wall, we've seen it a couple of times in EMEA. This is when you just do not want to play the site and you want to section out their retakes.
Yeah, it means there's going to have to be some more aggressive positions held by Gambit if they do get into an afterplant. And we're actually going to see Hunter's Fury pop. They're trying to clear out the back corner, but there's nobody there, and Defo's actually caught, looking to try and peek into the spawn. A 5 versus 3 afterplant is a really good spot for G2 to be in, so it's fine that they're going to get the spike down. Now this hold is going to be really, really tough for Gambit.
Yeah, not only with the man disadvantages, but the utility in play for G2. Mixwell up behind, won't be able to catch them walking through elbow. This could be a big flaw now for G2. They're making a lot of noise in the connector. Gambit have the perfect timing on the flank. All they need is the player on site to stay alive, and he has done that. Chronicle picks up one. He goes out for more. There's the trade, and they're not ready for a second player. Shados, 1 versus 2, but the spike is not planted for him. He needs to win the first, and he does indeed. Avova sticking it all the way. Will he get there in time? It doesn't matter. Avova comes off it to take the duel, and that is 9 rounds for G2. A hard-fought retake, though. They had everything set up for them, but Gambit adapted to that perfectly.
Can they win a round with more than one player? That's now the last 3 that we've seen onto the board for G2, coming down to these solo clutch situations. This map could be over. Gambit could have won it by now, but G2 are just clinging to life in these last few scenarios, and this was just ridiculously close. I don't think that Shados was expecting him just to stick it all the way through, and, well, he almost just diffused it right in front of him.
He almost did, yeah. Hearing the steps, obviously, as Shados started to sprint towards him, he knew time wasn't quite on his side there. He had to just come off it and take the fight. Gambit calling a tactical timeout after that round loss, but I have to say, it was the early round that really fell apart for them, especially losing Nats over towards the A side. We know just, and we've seen just how pivotal this man can be in making those flank plays in the late round. And really, when you look at that B play, they go in with 3 players, 3v5, they immediately identify, okay, these guys are playing retake, they've got a wall down. If we just play the site, we're dead. We're gonna get split up by that wall and taken down one at a time. So what did they do instead? They make that flank play, perfect timing in through the elbow, and it almost gets them the round.
I think the only unfortunate truth with that was the Redgar was screwed. Because Mixwell came in on the flank, there was absolutely no way he was going to survive that. An extra second or 2, maybe a single kill for him.
Sure.
Well, a single kill was the difference. So maybe they're able to take that home. And he was the only one who had any vision onto the spike as well, which just made it that little bit more difficult. Still, though, 10-9. Crunch time again for either side. Economy hasn't been built up. The issue now, though, for Gambit is their weaponry is also a little bit weaker.
Interesting. Evolva's put the wall down from the B side. A lot of players will put it down from the connector, so it doesn't go out into mid like this, which can obviously be a little bit problematic in holding that down, holding longer range angles. The Seekers won't really do much. This is fast. This is incredibly fast out of Gambit. Yeah, they're on this site as we speak, and none of G2 are.
Yeah, it looks like the same sort of retake setup. Red guy is ducking, he's weaving, he's trying to avoid the final tag, and he's not going to be able to. Again, an advantage in this retake for G2 as they make their move.
Right call on the Hunter's Fury. They knew exactly where that plant was going to be coming in. Shock darts to the backside, tickling them up. But here's the man we talked about before. Nats on the flank. He can pick up a weapon. Knows exactly where they are, running right on in, taking down 2, looking for the final player up behind him, and that duel goes their way nicely. Nukia last alive, but he's pulled it into a 1v1. Defo giving away his position on the backside. Nukia knows exactly where he is, but he's got to take him down soon. The time is ticking away. The jump, right click works out, but the round is not his. Nukia might even fall to the spike in the end. That's a devastating round, really, considering how things play out, and you have to give it to Nats there. We said they took him down in the previous round, and that's really what crippled Gambit's ability in those retakes. They still made a damn good try of it, but right there, he was anything but absent.
I don't know how he does it so often. That's the thing that's just mind-blowing for me. Like, the fact is, in the majority of cases, they're going to know exactly where he is, and they still can't do anything about it. Another interesting point, they used Seekers that round, and they still didn't know he was there.
Yeah, yeah. just the position of these Gambit players wasn't dragging him over. I have to say, you know, it really perplexes me how he gets 3 kills and still looks upset with himself for not finding the 4th. It's like, oh, sorry guys, I whiffed, I messed up. It's like, dude.
I only got 3 kills with a Spectre.
You just saved the whole round with a Spectre. You're looking upset with yourself. 11-9, Gambit definitely want to push the A side. Look at this. The amount of control kept by Nats. It amazes me every single time, the patience of this man. And Gambit have split right up through the halls. They are behind G2 and ready to make an incredible crunch in onto this site. G2 have pushed back out to maintain mid control. Oh no. There we go.
Not the best of trades. It's still a horrible spot for keloqz to be in, and eventually he's going to walk into the second player who'd come round from behind. What is that? Okay, it was Redgar getting the kill. I was about to say, that's probably the best distraction I've ever seen, and it was definitely an accident.
It was dashes straight into his face. Yeah, I think it was a little late hitting his A or his D key on that.
Ability.
Oh, man. Well, Gambit seemed to be closing this one out. Obviously, G2 only had the pistols, content to play for OT. Good attempt made by them. Decent damage done. They dropped Shados. They almost dealt with Defo. But that split, it was just too much control given up. The fact that Gambit walked through halls is almost the more perplexing thing, and I think G2 assumed that that wouldn't be the case because, Tom, they've got pistols. No one pushes halls against pistols. It's literally the only place that offers multiple close-range angles, and Gambit, of course, did it.
The only thing I will say is some of the positions from the players on G2, I think they did know it was a possibility. Because, like, keloqz was playing front pyramids. You don't play front pyramids unless you know they can be behind you. It doesn't make any sense.
For sure, yeah, they knew.
Also had a lot of people pushing out through mid. So it's like, they knew it was a possibility, but then when it came down to it, they still got owned by it anyway, because it's just too much control.
It is, yeah. They knew it was a possibility. They were playing safe from it, but they wanted to find some frontal aggression or catch those guys behind. It's the fact that they're able to split in and have that timing to go together. And we saw that exactly with the fact that Redgar takes the kill before Defo even goes down. That's where, you know, they took a risk, they rolled the dice, but that really relied on Gambit making a mistake. They had weaker weapons, it's fair enough. You throw that one away. This one, you definitely don't. It's 12
you lose
to
if
9.
you do.
3 opportunities for Gambit to close it out, and that's why we see a timeout out of G2. They want to make sure that they've got their strategy polished coming into this latter stage.
Yeah, chance to maybe let Gambit stew at least a little bit, have a time to talk about what's going to be going through in this round, and realistically, it is a map, again, we're expecting to go the way of Gambit because they have pocket-picked this. Like, this was going into this series their surprise factor to try and catch off G2, who don't play this map and probably didn't want to play split versus Gambit, who are, they're a decent split team. The issue is, of course, the next map is Icebox, which G2 have been fantastic on, but Gambit are also pretty good at.
When we talked about the pressure that's on these players over on the desk, the fact that the win for G2 means quite a lot. They would desperately like to be going to champions, and if they find it here, their points line up for that possibility, or indeed reality. A little bit more pressure on them than in any of the other games where they came in not as the favorites. Of course, 4th seed in EMEA, they weren't expected to beat Sentinels. They weren't expected to beat a lot of the teams that they played against. So, of course, it's a very different environment when you're in this stage, up against it. Well, I mean, you're not countrymen, but you're regionmen.
Regionmen, the classic term.
Hey, if countrymen's a thing, so is regionmen now.
Well, the classic slow round nuke here. The timing is going to be perfect! He's caught in the drone, and Chronicle isn't working. He couldn't have found better timing than that in any other possibility. keloqz, though, is under pressure. He needs some support, or maybe not. Isolating the Jaws! Just 4 HP remaining, but that will be enough.
Yeah, Nats left alone. It somehow still manages to get a flank play. Yeah, go on, shoot your arrow out. Yeah, good luck. But now it's a 1v4. And even with keloqz low, that operator just needs the 1 bullet. Turning from the flash doesn't help all too much when keloqz has teammates to help him, and the aim of a god. 12-10. G2 just 2 away from OT on Gambit's map pick, but it's not, I mean, look at Nats, 25-15 right now. This guy is showing up on the Cypher, and it's not just that. It's not just the ability he comes in with when it comes to dueling. It's also the control that he's constantly holding for his team.
This was gross. Pressured from both angles, peeks through the smokes and still landing the shots, repositioning for every battle, and the slight shoulder peeks just to try and bait players into a shot, even when he's on only 4 HP. Incredible round from Kellogg's, and he's starting to get that a little bit more confident. The Blade Storm thrown in for Defo, and they're going to go for a fast push into B once again.
Oh, they definitely are. Kellogg's is here waiting for them, though. Hunter's Fury deployed to Vova. Good to get one kill, but he'll be taken down right after. Quick trade by Kellogg's. And he's actually repositioning. They will never expect him to be here, surely. As he even closes in the distance, that operator going in for the aggressive pick.
No.
But Chronicle is a little bit too quick. 3v3, numbers evened up. You have to ask yourself, was that aggression necessary out of G2? They might just pay for that mistake. I'm looking at this though.
Heard it.
Same position as the previous round, and he gets the same result.
Oh, and Mixel's on the edge. He could end it here, but Shados expects the corner. It goes back to a 2v2, and now Coldamenta is actually alone. They know that he's still here. Now they're going to plant within it. The shock darts will do at least a little bit of damage, tickling them up, but here come the Seekers. They know that there's still a player within the site and the rotation's coming through. This allows them to take some control on the flank, and we'll now see that sneak up from Shados.
Shados is so nasty. That wall up, Nuki is going to have to push right through it. And just, oh, he's going to be spotted. Great angle from Chronicle. And he's just buying time at this stage. Shados now coming around to play this together. They drop the pit and close it out. 3 kills from Chronicle and 13 rounds for Gambit. They take the first map, the surprise pick of Breeze, and G2 now have to make the reverse sweep.
Yeah, well, I was a little bit worried coming into the pocket pick, because I had sort of looked at that and went, is it going to be as good as they hope it will be? Have G2 maybe been keeping in some extra practice? And I don't think they were necessarily bad on the map. I think the main issue was that every single round they won was with only one player alive. So they never really had the economy built up. They relied on those individual plays. I will say going forward in this series, though, it is still a good sign. You've got Kellogg's performing. He was 24 and 17, only one man above him. I won't give you any money for guessing who it was. It's the same person every single time. Nukia, 1918, had a lot of high impact plays as well. So I think going into the next map where they are definitely the focal points, I'm not that worried for G2 just yet.
Kellogg's, man, he's got the energy, he's got the charisma, and you know damn well he's got the aim to back it up. That's the thing that I'm loving about this guy. I want to completely abandon any of those questions. The will he show up?
He's better on land. 100%.
And like when you have a crowd, is he going to be able to show up? It doesn't matter. Yes, he is. By the looks of things right now, the man is absolutely unbelievable.
The crowd
for such a young player too.
Will show up for him.
Exactly. A guy like that feeds off that kind of energy, and you can see it. But over on the Gambit side as well, I think Shados has kind of been capturing their hearts in some of these cams.
For sure.
You can see some of the other guys on the team, looking at you in particular, Nats, a little bit more chill, a little bit more calm when they win. Get 3 kills and go, oh, I can't believe I didn't get 4. And Shados, doesn't matter what he does, they win a round, he's up there, he's getting them motivated. I love to see that. But Tom, you know what? It's time to go to a break. When we come back, we'll be looking at map number 2 and the possible reverse sweep for G2.
Welcome back to Masters Berlin, where Gambit have secured map 1 over G2 Esports in this all-important semi-final. I'm Yingsu, and I'm back on the desk with Sean and Gio. I'm getting a little bit of deja vu 4 weeks ago when these two teams played against each other. Gio, Gambit also came out strong and took map 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to start, especially when it's their map pick. And I said it in the map veto process, but this was something of a risk for Gambit just because of their past performances on Breeze and not having tons to go by, not having tons of successes from which to build in the same way that they do on Bind. But clearly they had been preparing because especially their defensive half was much better than it had been in that game against Ascend.
Yeah, they looked phenomenal on the map. Particularly Defo on the Jet looked so good. I think he was 4-0 in opening duels. Obviously, without saying, everyone knows Nats had a good game, right? Like, I mean, it feels like every game this guy just puts up monster numbers. On a Cypher role, he had 9 opening duels in this game. He was 6-3. He's so aggressive while at the same time he's lurking on the opposite side of the map as his team. He has so much map pressure for the team. And then Chronicle on the Viper. He had a slow start, but even seeing him in the middle of the scoreboard at the end just shows how much impact he had on the attack half. And
I just love the way that Nat supports the team, specifically when they're playing on the attack. We spoke about how that Cypher utility could be used, and even all the way back in the first round of the second half, where he's positioned in mid and where he put his tripwire on double doors to prevent Kellogg's from really having any access and allowing the push up mid. But something that really stood out to me as well is if you look on round 17, this is the round that Nuki popped off on, and he did a lot of that from Nest. And in the following round, what Nats did was specifically push up and lurk in Hall so that Nuki didn't have that position anymore. And that meant that that loss that Gambit had suffered on that previous round just wasn't possible, and they had complete free roam to do exactly what it is they wanted to.
I mean, watching him using those neural thefts, we were talking about it while the game was going live, it just comes so instinctively to him. He pops the cage, he's running, and in the middle of 4 people, he's using his neural theft, running through his own cage, singling off the fight against Kellogg's, I believe, and then still getting 2 more. It's just so ridiculous when you watch how good he is at understanding his spatial awareness of just what's going on around him. He always chooses the right battles.
I mean, going into this tournament, we spoke about, is he the best Cypher player even in the world? But Sean, do you believe that? And also, do you think he's also one of the smartest players in the world too?
I think without a doubt, after what I've seen from him at this tournament, he is the best Cypher player in the world, potentially even the best Viper player in the world also. Like, he is incredible in this individual. I consider Viper kind of like a sentinel in the current meta, and he just locks down sites. And then his lurks just always come up big.
I mean, yeah, it comes back to what you were saying. It's an intuition thing. And he just has that. And that's not something you can teach. You can have leadership elsewhere on the team that's helping you out with the information that you might need, but that intuition is not something that you're suddenly going to develop. And yeah, the argument has always been that Dapper is the best Cypher in the world. I really do think that Nats is giving him a run for his money right now.
Yeah, one thing I want to speak about is maybe a little bit of concern because, Gambit in this tournament, some of their pistols have gone amazingly. They've brought out some really cool stuff. But in that map in particular, Sean, the fact that they weren't able to convert the round right after winning the pistol twice. Do you feel like that's a bit of a concern?
Yeah, this was a map where they won both pistols, right? You would think they would just run away with the game. It looked like tactically they had everything under wraps. The Seekers planned were perfectly. The Hunter's Fury was always on deck for their executes. Everything looked so well thought out, but it's just a little sloppy sometimes when you watch them.
And in both instances, if I'm not mistaken, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Kellogg's who was a lot of the reason why they didn't take the second round. So maybe that's somewhere specific for them to look.
Yeah, I mean, they were definitely going to have to clean that up onto the next map. Icebox, of course, this is where we saw G2 beat Sentinels twice on this map. They're actually unbeaten, Gio, in this tournament so far on this map. But pretty scary.
Yeah, and my fear for the side of Gambit here is Gambit have proven that it is possible to adapt against them. Look at the game they played against Crazy Raccoon at first. It was a 13-1 victory for Gambit. The second time, 14-12.
Yeah, and I think that goes into Gambit's playstyle. They are very, very reliant on Nats lurking on the Viper role on this map, right? He uses his Poison Orb in mid. He'll use his wall, either the standard B wall or the screens wall. and they just give him that freedom to lurk. So does G2 have a Killjoy? Do they have something to shut him down in this middle lurk? Because when Crazy Raccoon went at them the second time, they dealt with Nats in a much better way than the first time around.
Yeah, they came prepared for sure. We are into Prime Gaming Agent Select now to see what both teams are going to be picking. Of course, Shados very recently in this tournament even moving on to the Reyna. And as you mentioned, Sean Nats is on the Viper here. And it feels silly to say that he's one of the players to watch here, but he just really is when it comes to Icebox.
Yeah, like we mentioned, they use him like a sentinel. He'll solo lock down the B site, and sometimes you'll see him at, you know, the E-box over at A, and he'll just be the only player at his site, and he'll use his wall to allow a rotate to come into him.
No raise. Oh, sorry.
That's
no raise here.
Exactly what I was looking at. They've been playing Raze for a long time. The last time they played with the Reyna was when they lost to Giants Gaming back in the lower bracket of the EMEA playoffs. So it's been a little while, and clearly they were traumatized by that game, and they decided to change things up. And Nuki has also been doing incredibly well on the Raze so far throughout this tournament. It was one of the maps against Sentinels that we spoke about when he went down the zip line, and they were just overwhelmed Sentinels incredibly quickly, completely shut down Tens, not allow him to have any defensive prowess on that A side, and clearly they want something different here.
Yeah, Nuki on those games on Raze, they put all of the faith in him to hold the A push, right? He would be up on the belt using his boombot to sense out if anyone's pushing into him. How can he do that on this Reyna role? What are they going to do with him on their attack side? That's what I'm most curious about.
Well, we shall see. It's a strong start for Gambit, but let's see if G2 can pull it back on Icebox. It's time to jump into map 2 with Mitch and Tom.
Well, a big challenge, no doubt. It looks like some of the guys are ready. I saw Cole Dementa coming in. He has heavy stocks in this game as he was going in with the Wolf of Wall Street chest beat. I love it. They're ready to go on to Icebox here. And no doubt, G2 will feel a little bit more comfortable here than going back on Breeze.
Yeah, they're switching up over onto the Reyna as well for Nukia is going to make things that little bit more exciting, means he can be a little bit more reckless, more aggressive, kicking it off on that defensive side. For now, though, well, it's the counter Reyna who's going to be taking the charge.
Look at Kellogg's all the way pushed down middle. He has got these guys completely sectioned in. Now, they don't know that it's going to be a B hit, but they've gambled there with their 3 players and a bit of a passive mid support hold. With a minute left on the clock, Gambit have already closed in the distance. They're going to pop this wall down to look for a much more aggressive plant than what we normally see out of these teams. In fact, the updraft out of Defo is going to give good position, but Redgar falls way up behind. G2 having a flurry of frags going their way, but Gambit won't let it slip away all that easy, and Chronicle has snuck right up to the door. He is ready to catch them as they come on through mid.
Oh, Nukia is going to go above him, though. Now, will he actually check this corner? That's the real question. Kellogg, he's going to find the spike. That buys extra time for Nukia to move, but he doesn't know that there's a man right behind him, but they've almost passed like ships in the night. But Chronicle will be able to close out the round. It's Gambit to get themselves yet another pistol.
Big play by Gambit, now 1-0 up. I have to say, at this point, G2, they're going to want to bounce right back. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go in for a force buy coming into round 2, but I'm expecting a little bit of something different, bit of aggression out of them, perhaps. And I'm looking at it, it doesn't really look like that, actually. Maybe it's just going to be a default play. I'm surprised. I want to see if have they invested anything?
No.
Oh, just classics. All right, so they're playing kind of a default. There we go, grouping up on A. So there's going to be a little bit of A aggro with a solo B hold using the Viper wall.
Denied the early aggression. Kellogg's trying to get something done with the one sheriff that they currently have in play. But for now, well, we've got the lull in the round. This is the Gambit attack side. What did we expect? There's still going to be another 40 seconds before they really have to do anything. Just waiting patiently, making sure they don't make any mistakes in these sort of rounds. Now, for someone like Kellogg's, that extra investment is worth it. If he can get himself a few extra kills, put himself in a position closer to that Blade Storm, he becomes hell of a lot more deadly in some of these future buy rounds. For now, though, Avova just trying to prod and probe, seeing if anybody's making a move, but, well, they're just about starting to move, Mitch.
Yeah. Starting to make their way forward. Oh, Avova inside the orb. He hasn't been spotted, but he'll be taken down so easily with the decay. Looks like they want to push up on A, getting nice and close. Nukia falls, and I mean, look, Kellogg's gets the 1 kill. One more here would be fantastic for G2. They've lost Kellogg's. They know that Coldement is up top. Over on the Gambit side, very little way very little room for error, rather.
30 seconds left.
If Mixwell can drop another one here, it's already a successful round. The worry, though, is that Shados already has his Empress online, and although with most weapons, like, you wouldn't really be too worried, like it's not going to be the most impactful ultimate in the world. Yeah. When you go into a bonus round with a Spectre, I start to worry a little bit more. He can be very aggressive. The weapon's fire rate gets even higher than it already is, and he heals up and escapes after every single duel.
Yeah, he's been doing pretty well for himself. Starting this one out. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Never mind, it's not a Spectre anymore.
That's a slightly better Spectre, isn't it? Vandal to play with. Now that's something else. And look at Gambit, 2-0 up. This round would mean so much for them. And on the attack side, they can set the pace with this Vandal, look to pick it up if it goes down. We're going to keep an eye on Shados for this early fight. Because you can see this aggression coming out of Nukia. He's gone up on top, on the pipes, and Shados is looking to shut him down, looking for an angle onto some of these players. Of course, no info on exactly where they are. Now he's starting to hear them, actually. With the utility put out and the drone going forward, this is a good opportunity for Gambit to maybe find a pick. Counter util, keeping them at bay for now, though.
Yeah, I like the fact that they've also deep-walled into mid. We know how much shenanigans Nats likes to get up to, and speaking of shenanigans, he's trying to push a probe on the B side, make some space for the rest of his team. Kellogg's has got to get the timing right here. If he misses the move, that could be the end of the round, and I almost wonder if his teammates are going to come true and try and bait a little bit for him here. Give him that extra space while Kellogg's is fighting on the other side.
I think that's it. Just kind of act like they don't know what's going on. They don't know that Kellogg's is around this area. Well, they're actually
maybe they actually
back.
don't know.
Yeah, looks like it. Kellogg's backing off, though, still. They have managed to get an ult orb over on the Gambit side. Shut down to Defo. A little bit more, maybe. But that's Spectre picking up the frag. This sells a fake completely. They've used their ice wall. Multiple players were spotted, and now the pressure is on. Nukia needs to make a big hold as his teammates rotate around to help him. If he's caught up on top, he will be putting his team in a pretty rough position because he's now fallen, and Mixwell trying to fight his way back in. Gets lit so heavy, he can't even try to make that fight.
He does manage to escape, though. I believe that might be some extra HP given over via Vova. The only problem is that Redgar's also found that remaining player looking to try and push through. Shados above, he's spotted out of over. He's going to jump almost directly onto his head, going for the Goomba stop and leaving Mixwell to try and save this. It's a bonus round victory for Gambit. Another stellar half to this map.
Yeah, that was gorgeous as well. Just drop shotting him right up behind Shados, 8-1. And kicking it off with a 3-0 start, like you said, Tom, that is not ideal. This is a round where damage, 3 kills, for example, would have been pretty much enough for Gambit. They would have been happy, especially because the ult they did commit was the Empress. It's not the biggest of deals to commit that and lose out on the round, especially when you've got Spectres. But now G2 are left on pistols, and this should be a stellar start to Gambit's attack.
Yeah, they have a couple of ultimates being close to being online. I think Mixwell's just going to use his poison orb early to get himself the Viper's Pit. It makes this at least a little bit different. Now, I think they were going to try and 3-man fight for the other one at the same time, but that's not exactly gone to plan. They're getting slaughtered, leaving Kellogg's alone, and that is a beautiful hold coming out from that attacking side to make sure that they get nothing from it. Now, the rotations come in, unfortunately, not really in a spot where the ultimate is now worth using.
Yeah, that wall's going to be put down as well, so any sort of spam potential Vova had completely out of the question. And a ranged fight. Not going to be ideal for Mixwell. He's not putting his wall down. For a moment he thought about it, was going to just push up, but he goes for the fights, just heads up and gets nothing done. 4-0 and a prime gaming flawless coming out of Gambit. I mean, that's going to be a little bit tough for G2. Not just because they're now 4-0 down, that's obviously recoverable, but it's the fact that Gambit have so much money built up.
Yeah, the worry as well is that Shados, I feel like, especially while he's on the Reyna, has been a little bit hit and miss. He's had some great maps, he's had some very quiet ones, and a lot of the time he's the difference maker. He's got 10 kills already, Mitch. We're going into round 5. Like, if he could somehow keep up this pace, well, we could be looking at the semi-final over within the next 10 minutes.
That's a pretty ridiculous thought, actually, now that you say it that way. Yeah, a lot of us came in saying that Gambit were going to be our saviors for EMEA Valorant, and G2 sure did put on one hell of a show up against Sentinels. They really won our hearts in that one. So this series up in the air when you think about who should be walking away with it. Well, as we're seeing right now, Gambit looking like the much stronger team in these formative rounds, already up a map and up a man advantage as well. Nats creeping through that Viper's Pit, and he's walked right by Mixwell.
This could go one of two ways. If they don't check for Mixwell and he gets a couple of kills, he gives them a way back into the round. If he somehow spots Nats, it gives them a way back into the round. Instead, it just comes down to this moment, and they've seen it, but he still manages to come out with 3! Ridiculous from Mixwell, leaving just Nats. He thought he'd given his team a free pass in towards the A site. Instead, he sent them to their death.
We thought Nats had snuffed by Mixwell. It turns out it was the other way around. Nats now having to clutch this one out. No idea where Mixwell is, and the snake bite not quite clearing the angle. He's about to run to site, reloading, and Mixwell completely whiffs. Nats actually clutches it out. 3 kills, 5 rounds. There seems to be no way for G2 to get off the starting point. This is absolutely ridiculous. And Nats was quiet up to this point. He had a great first map. What a round to kickstart him on Icebox.
You'll never see a round like this ever again. Ever again. That just doesn't, it makes no sense. He was reloading as he peeked Mixwell. I can't believe what we've just witnessed. Get me out. Get me out.
How is he not? Look at his face. Look, Shados is screaming and Nats is like, well, that's another round for me. Yep. 5-0, boys. That's pretty good, isn't it? This guy is an absolute machine.
Yeah, take a time. I need one too. I need one. Yeah, I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna sit down.
It's not a bad call, actually. It's not a bad call. We should pull a chair up, relax, recline. What an incredible round, honestly.
I need a moment to breathe.
We're gonna be seeing that in a couple of replay packages. I reckon.
Yeah, probably.
The fact that he goes all the way past, we're asking, will Mixwell be able to get a couple of kills, make it easy for the retake? He takes 3 down, he peeks the final player reloading, and not only does Mixwell fall, but then Kellogg's misses the shot and gets shut down to close it.
I want a couple of things. I want to see
ridiculous.
Most of this just involves player cams, but I want to know who had the most confused face in that round. Was it the players on Gambit when they realized Mixwell was still in that corner, or was it the players on G2 when they realized that Nats was somehow past Mixwell? Because both of those things in isolation are ridiculous, but at the same time, one of the stupidest things I've ever seen.
Absolutely ludicrous. Well, I would like to shout out G2 for giving us that little tech pause. I can feel my heart rate coming down.
I did actually have a sit down, for anybody wondering.
Yeah, I wish I did as well, to be honest. My legs are feeling shaky. So, we come back into it 5-0, and G2 have had some opportunities, but no ability to close them out. Already decent attack rounds building up for Gambit. G2 don't have a lot to work with in this round. Blade Storm for Kellogg's, Vandal for Mixwell, everyone else on Sheriff. Still, plenty of potential for damage to be done. It starts with Mixwell by the looks of things. Defo's holding it with an op, and that's going to be the rifle dropped. Look at this, but I mean, get out of here.
Such
the ruddiest player I've ever seen in my life. The fact that he can, look, 2 kills, why not? Yeah, give him all of them. He's sitting in spawn, Tom. You rarely see that in a ranked game if someone's actually AFK.
I went to get a drink, and there's guys walking past me.
Yeah. Guys, I'm going to go to the toilet. I'll BRB. It's like, oh, look, I've cut off their flank.
3 kills. Someone drop me a gun. Someone drop me a gun.
Listen, if you're in G2's position right now, if you're 5-0 down, soon to be 6-0 by the looks of things, and that is how they cut off your flank and deal with your Blade Storm, the final remaining beacon of hope in the round after losing the Van. No.
Look how,
not again.
Look how slow Avova's walking.
Oh,
thank God.
Okay.
Thank God.
There is some good left in the world. I'm a big fan of Nats. We had the tweet the other day, if Nats has 1 million fans, I am one, and so on. We know how the copy pasta goes.
Did you come up with that?
I'm very happy that he's died out in this round. It's just 3 kills from spawn would be a little bit too much.
Oh, God. You could even see the way Avova was walking through there. He was like, is he still in the spawn? And that's the thing when playing up against Nats. You lose your own play style because you're constantly trying to work out. Yeah, it's like you're working out what he's doing, and the second that enters your mind, you've already lost.
I mean, the second that somebody said, like, Mixwell's going to be like, all right, Kellogg's, can you go for a flank this round? He's going to get PTSD immediately. Every corner's going to be checked 3 times. I mean, I don't even know.
It's like the idea, the game, and that's going to annoy a lot of people in Twitch chat, but it's the second you think about the game, you've lost.
Oh, wow, Tom, come on, what is this?
That's the
2010?
concept. Yeah, exactly. That is the concept with Nats. The second you think about what Nats is doing, you've already lost.
You've made many
Oh,
that's the worst one.
Yeah, no, I could tell there's a lot of people who hate me right now, and honestly, I relish it.
Bringing me back to childhood with that one, Tom. You know what?
Well, you just lost, Vitch. You just lost.
All right, it is 6-0. Gambit certainly not having any money troubles. Kind of surprised. Small point. Did Shados just buy a rifle? And Defo and Redgar are max money next round? You know, probably.
Yeah, they've also got all their ults. They're probably feeling quite confident right now.
Be honest, probably not really caring about the economy at this point, but maybe that can come back to bite them. G2 start out the round with good damage to Redgar, but still that opening pick evades them.
Kellogg's not really going to get away with anything for now. How? No, but how? How is he there? How is he there? I don't understand. How does he manage to do that? And he's gonna get the kill on Mixos. What is this man doing?
That is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. This guy, he's defining the word flank.
It's not even a flank. I don't understand.
Just walked up behind them. It's absolutely obscene. Oh, G2, my heart goes out. You are playing Gambit's game at this point. Nats, he's even come on. He's come up behind for the third kill. He's come up behind for the third kill. How? How has he managed to do that? 3 kills in a round. The previous one he did the same. Can somebody stop this guy? It's 7-0 for Gambit. This is G2's map pick.
Right, I know you're listening, obviously. POV demos, please. Release them, because...
How does he find this space? I could watch him play. I've watched probably hundreds of hours of Nats at this point, and I could watch hundreds more. I still wouldn't understand what goes through his brain. It's unbelievable.
Prime gaming flawless, by the way, just in case anyone was wondering.
Well, of course it is. Nats they didn't even see the dude the whole round. He's an enigma.
Maybe he has an invisibility cloak. That's my most logical answer at this point, because
check him PC.
Check him PC. But I don't know if that exists. Oh god, what do you even say at this point?
Guys, maybe don't let him come behind us and kill us 3 times. That would be great. I don't blame G2. They leave the tiniest of gaps, the smallest of spaces for him to sneak through, and he manages to just wedge his way in there. And the thing is, even when you find him, even when you go for that heads-up duel against Nats, he still wins them the majority of the time. We've seen it in this game. We saw it in the previous round. The second kill he got, they knew where he was. They're ready to take the fight. He comes around the corner that they're holding, and he just shoots them in the head right away. No idea that the player was even there. 7-0. G2 needs something, and in this round, they're unlikely to find it. Again, they're going to be on a very low buy.
For anybody wondering, G2's map choice.
Yeah.
Just throw it out there.
So the positive here, Gambit chose the attack. Let's look on the bright side.
Oh god. Oh god.
Close recon this time. A little bit different than what you'll see normally. Sometimes it goes around the corner so you can spot them as they come for the ult orb. This time, Gambit want to play a more passive one because they're ensuring nobody's pushed up A. Defo shuts down the B push. Again, Kellogg's trying to go for a flank. And this is a player we know feeds off energy, feeds off momentum. We've seen him every time he makes those clutch plays. He's jumping up, he's making noise. And so far, whenever he tries to move off the B side, he is shut down, whether it's by Nats AFK in spawn or by Defo's operator now. And look, they're still just waiting. This is a textbook Gambit round, and G2, they're 7 rounds behind. They're getting a little bit antsy. They've got weaker weapons. They want to push forward and initiate some combat, and I suppose in a way they have initiated combat, but ultimately it's their execution.
But that is the beauty of this Gambit attack side, is last round we saw Nats fighting them in kitchen.
Is he going to flank Nats? Is he about to flank Nats?
Nats
oh no.
Turn around.
Shados is going to spot him. Because and Tom, this is the ridiculous thing. They left the spike in spawn. If they didn't leave it in spawn, he wouldn't have been there. He wouldn't have turned around. He wouldn't have spotted the flank, and Avova probably would have killed Nats. But instead, perfect timing on the turnaround. Coldamenta's gone. Mixwell's got a rifle. There's not really much you can do in this. He almost got taken down by a wall bang, and Defo, of course, wins that duel right afterwards. This is unbelievable. G2, one of the most solid teams that we have, not just regionally, but now top 4 in the world, placing at least in this event. And they're just being embarrassed by the CIS squad.
Prime gaming flawless, by the way.
Oh, was it, Tom?
Yeah, just
yeah,
you know.
I haven't actually seen that. That's the first one of the game, isn't it?
think so, maybe. I feel like maybe the round before.
Look, they had weaker weapons, so I want to give them a little bit of room on that. It is only 8-0.
This
if
why
they win all 4, it's still doable.
Yeah, this is what I was almost saying. It's like the thing I've loved about this attack side so far is it hasn't just been that static default. Like as said, like a couple of rounds ago, Nats was all the way through within the first like 20-30 seconds fighting them at the back of B. There is no right move now for G2 because if they get aggressive and try and fight these players, they're waiting for them, and if they don't, they take the space away from them instead. This is a perfect attack side. It genuinely doesn't get any better than this. If you could find me a team that do it better, well, send it. I want to see it.
Gambit have called attack timeout. You know, they need to work on their tactics here. Fair enough, deepen up the playbook a little bit. This almost feels like it's one of those moments where you're like...
Is just going to be staring them down?
This feels like one of those moments where, yeah, you are just calling that pause. Sure, you'll have a little bit of a chat, but for the most part, you're just letting them stew in it. You're 8-0 down. Everything you've tried has failed. And now, hey, take a minute. Try and figure us out.
The only problem with doing this, if there isn't something else that we don't know about, is if you then lose from here, you look like an absolute fool.
Sure.
So there's always that side of the coin. It also gives Neilzinho a little bit of extra time to talk with his team, which I don't think G2 are going to be too unhappy with at this point.
Absolutely.
They're going to get it before going into a bye round. I genuinely think if they can get this back to 4 rounds, G2 have a chance. I think their attack side versus Sentinels, they get 8 rounds and 9 rounds the second time around. So Gambit have to be careful here, and I actually don't mind this pause even if it is just for that reason. Guys, don't get overconfident, don't let this slip away. Let's make sure we're getting like an 11-1 at worst.
And remember, G2 called attack pause just before they went into that previous round where they had weaker weapons. This will be the round that they were talking about, and it starts out with a Hunter's Fury tag, but no finish off the wall. Throw, come on!
No.
Come on! He walks through his own poison orb and gets the kill. Cole Dementa puts out the recon, just confirming they're still here. They've walled up, they're pursuing him. Gambit are looking so confident, but Kellogg's, he only gets the one. A res straight away onto Nats. They'll try to shut him down. Cole Dementa with the Odin, and he gets dropped right afterwards. Nats falls, but comes right back to life and breathes life into the game of Gambit here. 8-0, looking for a 9th, and it is a 3 versus 2. They need to deal with Nats. He's in their spawn right now, and he's the only player isolated as they try to go through Tube. Down goes Mixwell. And Dookie has to clutch it. The jump across by Chronicle, just about saving his life. Does he have any idea that Defo is going to be here, though? That was a close spam.
This is a dirty point to play on the cross. Looking to try and take him out with a single bullet, and they're almost going to move in a crossfire. It is perfect again. The interplay between these players has been fantastic, and a 9th round. G2 at least fighting back a little bit in this one, but at this point...
I genuinely feel like we've seen 9 different rounds at a Gambit. Like, I don't think they've played...
Other than maybe defaults.
Sure, well, yeah, okay. But even their defaults have had, like, varying things. For example, sending Nats out on the B side, sending him through kitchen, sending him through mid. Just let Nats go and kill them all as the Viper. And we talk about Mixwell's lurk when it comes to playing Viper, and on this map in particular, I think is where he really shines on it. But at 9-0, Gambit have given no space. G2 have got to be feeling locked out. We talked about the pressure. Their best chance of making it to champions is winning this game. Otherwise, it's LCQ they have to go through, and that is going to be a much, much tougher bracket, and indeed put them many more BO3s away from securing that spot.
Still fighting for orb control. Nats 1 away from the Viper's pit, and on the other side of things, Avova does have his res, but they haven't had too many opportunities to use it. Goodbye, Cole Dementa. He's gone already. The wall put in place, and I believe they're only spamming it with a Spectre, so I think they're actually going to be able to get the plant without any problems at all. There goes the Viper's pit as well after they get that extra orb from the spike, and while Avova needs to find a kill here, and he gets nothing for it.
Okay, Mixwell at least trades it back, but here's Defo, operator in hand. Barely looked like he even took the shot, and he was out of there. Blade Storm pop, they really want to secure this 10-0. He comes close, but he's just too low. And with Mixwell walking through the Viper's pit, even after he finds the first, he's going to run right into Chronicle, putting double digits on the board. Gambit are just unstoppable on G2's map pick, and they talked about it on the desk. It was mentioned many times. The Breeze was a pocket pick out of Gambit, and the other 2 maps look damn good for Gambit as well. Yeah. They won the veto right away. With G2's map pick, I mean, we need to see them take these final 2 rounds. There's absolutely no doubt about that. I don't think you can really rely on. If you're new to Valorant,
you don't think they'll come back from a 12-0?
Attack side. Look, hey, Icebox I see is an attack-sided map. 12 in a row. Kind of tough, actually. Yeah, a little bit.
100 Thieves got 10 in a row.
True. So did Gambit. Right now.
Shut up.
Let's see if they can make it 11. This is a frankly ridiculous display of just a flawless attack side. Absolutely. And they started out by picking off Nukia. The confidence is running. Gambit, known for their slow defaults, instead they're taking very early fights as a 5-man on A. And G2 have rotated fully in.
Yeah, they have to. At this point, take risks, take gambles, put everything you can into
Guardian
these sort of rounds. And
exactly.
They've got the res still. Might be able to bring Nukia back. It's not an awful spot. Been able to bring it back into at least a workable position. Aggression coming through as well. Looking for the fight. He's been shocked out of the round.
Of course. Yep. Tom, I don't know why you're surprised. It seems like every single thing that G2 try to do, Gambit have an answer for it immediately, and Cole Dementa caught attempting a flank play. He's like, hey, I'm going to take a page out of Nats's book. Let's see how he likes it. And caught immediately. Gambit, with just beautiful play right now, looking for 11. Getting rid of that operator and moving towards the B site where they're just going to play this one yet again, getting their plan, post-plan play, and Nats has so much space to work with, which is an incredibly scary concept.
Yeah, he has that normally, but now it almost seems worse. This duel is everything. Mixwell can take him down, pick up a weapon, but of course he's going to get the drop on him. We're not even surprised at this point. Kellogg's in a 1 versus 4 to give them a round.
He's been flanked!
He gets the first kill.
He's been shot in the back!
He's found Nats from behind. It's almost a miracle in itself, but I don't think it's going to save them. He needs to find 3 more players, and okay. He at least gets a couple, but it doesn't matter for Gambit. 11-0. Have we haven't had a 13-0, have we?
I don't think so. I don't think so, Tom.
Well, I hope that was the jinx for it. I don't want a semi-final with a 13-0.
Gambit and G2. Tom, when I woke up this morning, I was certain. You know, I had a nice breakfast. I was certain I need the energy for all 3 maps in this series, for them to be extended as well. And it's G2's adaptability. It's what they showed us up against Sentinels that I was most excited to see. And yet, Gambit, they've done their research. They were ready for this. And after taking down the former best in the world, these guys really stalling coming into this semi-final. This, as we said, was their chance, or still is, to make it to Masters, or to make it to Champions at the end of the year. Oops, is that a whiffed shot?
He's human!
So is Mixwell.
And it's gone. And it's gone. Oh, no. No, no, no, come on! Come on! Give them something! Finally, over, he's managed to get rid of Nats. It might be a lifeline. It might be something to at least make this not a flawless half.
Caught immediately. They see the players on B. They want to try to make the space up. So they walk into A. And of course, what do you know? Gambit are waiting. Gambit are playing a slow round, a default. After picking up the pace in the previous round, the depth and versatility of Gambit has been so beautiful. And they still think that they can push Gambit. They still think that they can try to flank this team. And Tom, they fundamentally cannot. Final player alive, Nukia, trying to win this round out. A 1v4. I think I saw that. And you know what? If it takes 12 straight rounds for him to pop a smile, I think we'll see a lot more of that coming into the future. Remember, Gambit already looking at Champions. They've got so much time to prepare ahead of that. And if that doesn't scare you after what you're seeing here today, I don't know what will.
Nukia. He's left in a 1v4 mid.
He's not going to win this. Look, they've got post-plant utility. They've got absolutely everything to play with, and they're just peeking up with 3 players. Let's not even try, Tom. I'm through with having hope. G2 have just been beaten 12-0 on their map pick. Now, we're going to throw things over to the desk, and
good luck.
Good luck, guys. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mitch and Tom. I don't even know where to start, but I want to say that, Sean, I saw you tweet Scrimbit activated. Maybe this is the Gambit that everybody has been speaking about this whole year, given their Scrim result.
For those of you guys that are new to the scene, let me introduce you to Scrimbit. This is the team that every pro team says is the best team in the world. We have yet to see it on an international stage. But this is what they're dealing with when every team in Scrim says there's no shot this team doesn't win the next international tournament. And here they are. This is incredible.
12-0.
Yeah, this is just a bloodbath.
I mean, look, not to put a downer on things, but I'm going to call disqualification because I heard that it's a stipulation that everyone on the team has to be human. And I'm not convinced that that's really the case here.
Yeah, no, Nats is just on another level. He's ridiculous. I mean, we speak about him all the time. But before we speak about him more, I just want to quickly speculate a little bit with that timeout, the 8-0 timeout from Gambit. Redgar has spoken about this in the past. When they get a little bit too excited, they tend to take a timeout just to cool themselves a little bit, you know, to make sure everything's in motion. And they also always, usually at EMEA, take a timeout at the half because they need to regroup and talk about what's happening in the second half. And we've seen them do this before, Sean, when they're in ridiculously wild leads. And, you know, it goes to show that a team like this, even when they're 8-0 up, they don't want to let that slip away.
Yeah, and I mean, the two clips back-to-back on your screen just show that, right? He went from winning a 1-on-3 clutch in that manner in the A site to camping his own spawn for the first minute of the round. This guy is so focused on getting this win, and not only getting the win, absolutely humiliating G2. Like, this game needs like an NSFW type. Like, this is incredible performance from Gambit right now.
He smiled. Yeah, I know, it was insane. We're getting the wildest scenes right here in this game. But I do think, Yinsu, that point that you made about them just wanting to cool themselves down partway through is really useful. I mean, even before their game against Crazy Raccoon the other day, Redgar said to me, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, they don't indeed. It's a 12-0 now, but Tom and Mitch, are we going to get our first 13-0 of this tournament?
No! I really don't want it to be. You know what? If this was an EMEA NA game, sure, yeah. Whip out the 13 zeros. Show them what you got. But Gambit, God, really just showing G2 that, you know what? This is why you're 4th seed. You might be able to beat the best in NA, but this is the EMEA, baby. And Gambit are the kings of this region, looking for the 13-0. They're on the defensive side. Normally, that means that teams play slow. They defend. Gambit, though, after such a convincing first half, I wouldn't be surprised if they play a little bit more aggressive. They're going towards Nats. Have they learned nothing, Tom? They're going towards Nats.
Yeah, Nats playing in Nats, for anybody wondering. You're gonna look to try and find Defo is still just so clinical, looking for the cross. Kellogg's tag, they're losing their lives. 3 players remain. G2 being utterly humiliated. They'll get themselves a spike plant. They'll give themselves a bit of hope, but Shados looking to drop more players. Another one falls. It is looking all but over. It's on to Kellogg's to give them anything, and G2 have been humiliated as Gambit make their way through to the final, and who the hell will doubt them now?
Oh, watch out, NA, because these guys, they do not come to play around. They came to win. What an incredible showing from the Kings of EMEA, showing that even if G2 beat the best in the world, they won't beat the new Kings. Absolutely spectacular. I think that's one of the most dominant games that I've seen, and the fact that it is in the semi-finals of Masters 3. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Have we even had a 13-0 this tournament?
I don't think we have. It's been a long time since I've seen a 13-0. Never mind this tournament, this stage.
I think these highlights might get a little bit one-sided.
Yeah, do you reckon there's many G2 ones? Hey, Mixwell will be in there. Mixwell will be in for the 3K. And he'll be in there for when... Okay, so yeah his 3K isn't even in. Only the end of the round. And there it is. Oh, look, we won. Not even a smile.
There's so many things about this match I don't think I've ever seen before. Nuclear, 2 kills in the entirety of the map. It was not the performance that G2 were looking for today. I will say, coming into this tournament, top 4 from them is an impressive showing. It's just the manner in which they've been manhandled. They beat Sentinels to make it through top of their group. They got through Crew in fairly easy fashion, and then they came up against this Russian squad. The super team built in their own region, slowly getting better and better and better. It took Fnatic to stop them from getting to Reykjavik. They make it to Berlin, and they are in the grand final. And we are looking at players who, well, one of them